Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday show. It is Sunday, April 26th. I am one of your hosts today, Promise. I'm joined by the lovely Seth Andrews. Can I say lovely Seth Andrews?
Yeah,
Is that okay?
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay,
Especially
I mean
at my age. Anything that I just recently did an on-stage appearance with got Sid Gibbon and Forrest Valkai, and one of the commenters said, "Oh, they call the show Two Cool Kids and a Fossil." So yeah, I'll take lovely any day of the week for sure.
Okay, great, good. Glad that doesn't offend.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be hanging out with you guys today. We're hoping to take some calls from theists. If you call now at 720-619-2288 and you are a theist, you will get priority. We'll chat with you right away. We might take an atheist call or two, but we prefer to talk to people who want to call us today and tell us what God they believe in, why they believe in that God. Should we believe that that God exists? We're excited for these calls. We were just talking about our biblical names because I promise you're Seth. I was named from the Bible. Will you share what you were telling me about what you say about your name?
Well, it's for those who don't know, I have a twin sister. Her name is Beth, so it's Seth and Beth, and we could not be more opposite. Like, really opposite. And we don't really hang. We're not super close. She's hardcore evangelical and whatnot, and we just don't have any common ground. I don't know what happened. I guess that's sometimes it's very common with twins, but my parents, theologian level believers, wanted a biblical name. So Elizabeth is in the Bible, but Seth is, I always like to say that Seth is the son of Adam and Eve that was not involved in a homicide. And sometimes people will bring Bibles to conventions and speaking tour stops, and they will ask me to sign their Bibles, to autograph it. And I always find out where Seth is, on what page, like 7 or 8, and I circle it. And then in the front, I say, I'm on page 7, and then I sign it underneath. And I kind of enjoy that. But Seth
incredible.
Provides an interesting example of how God's perfect plan immediately went to shit. It immediately started to go wrong right off the bat. And Seth provides a sort of a jumping off point. And then there's the irony of being an atheist activist with a biblical name. So there you are, Promise. Promise is just one of those. And no, I don't mean anything by this, but it's very.
No, please.
It's very quiverful. It's very Duggar family. It's a beautiful name, but in the context of the faith, it's like I picture somebody in a little house on the prairie dress saying, we have promised our daughter to the service of Jesus and the rest of her life. Just picture that in my mind. And it's probably unfair to your Promise. Probably unfair.
No, that's actually so accurate. I mean, we weren't quiverful. We considered ourselves to be like the cool charismatics. But the vibe, I mean, I was cosplaying as Laura Ingalls Wilder many times. So this is not inaccurate at all.
Tell me there are photos. Tell me there's a record.
There are, for sure. Because I was homeschooled. So I was like, well, I guess I'll wear my bonnet today. Like that was very normal. But what's really funny too is that my family very much still believes in the prophetic. And so they share the story. They say that God prophetically gave my name to them, which was promise joy, from this verse about the promise of the joy of harvest of souls. And so like they would always say that I was going to bring like many souls to the Lord through my life. And now here I am sitting next to you on this show, eager to take a call from a theist to convince me to come back, convince me that I should believe that that was an actual prophetic word, that God is going to use me to bring souls back to Jesus. That would be an interesting call to hear.
You remind me of, and this is absolutely true, in a little town called Perkins, Oklahoma, which is probably 15 minutes south of Stillwater, Oklahoma, where Oklahoma State is located. There was a tiny Christian church private school, one of those places where they have like 20 students, and that's the whole student body, just a few of them. And at the time, I was dating somebody and kind of doing a 90-minute drive to go and see her, and her younger siblings were going to this tiny private hardcore fundy Christian school, and they were a little wacky. And at the high school senior graduation for the son, they had a prophet. So they would go up and they would get their diploma and they would move the tassel, da, 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 da. And then they would go, and a prophet was standing in a microphone, and the prophet would prophesy what they were going to do with the rest of their life. And it was really, even when I was a believer, it was creepy. So they're like, you are going to go into some kind of medical service to bring healing to the public. And they were assigning the rest of their lives to these vulnerable young minnows who'd already been indoctrinated in the private school. You are going to work with your hands, probably in construction, and you will marry and you will do this and
Oh
you
my
will move out of
gosh.
the state. It was wild. And the whole prophetic ministry thing, well, you know, Promise, it's so odd that many people outside often have a hard time believing this stuff actually takes place. But that was your reality too. They're saying,
Oh,
God
the
told
amount,
me to tell you, right?
right. And that was a weekly thing at church. We were, I mean, by the time I was 12 years old, I was taught that I should lead a prophetic team. So I would sit there with people and we would like have somebody come in the room and we would sit and pray and prophesy over them. And I'm a kid, so I'm just like, I closed my eyes and I saw a picture of this, so I think it means this because you're taught to like weave a narrative. I could do it now. I could prophesy over all of you if you wanted me to. And I got really good at reading the room and picking up on little things about somebody. And I mean, I at one point when I first left the faith, I was like, maybe I should just get a tarot deck and sit outside somewhere and like pretend to read somebody's fortune because I can do this stuff. Like I can
Yeah.
make people, cry because they feel seen and stuff because you just say stuff that everybody wants to hear, you know?
But where does that
Um,
come from? Did you feel like you were intuiting the Holy Spirit, or were you faking it? I mean,
at the time, I remember thinking, like, I feel like I'm faking it. And I would say that. They were like, no, 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 you're giving yourself credit for what God's doing through you. It's not you. Like, and I was just like, okay, I feel like this is my anxiety and hypervigilance and eldest daughter syndrome that wants to make everyone in the room feel comfortable with me. But sure, let's go with that. And so I would be like, okay. And then every now and then, you say something that clearly affects someone so much that they kind of convince you back. Like, oh, that must be God. Like, if it made them feel that happy to hear, like, I just heard that God says he loves you. And they're just like sobbing, like, I told God if I didn't hear that today, I was going to kill myself. And then you're like, wow, I guess God really used me to say that?
yeah.
So it's definitely like a self-fulfilling prophecy, so to say. Like you convince yourself over time and then they convince you back. And
I
um,
prophesy that Promise is going to release a book in roughly 4 weeks, and it will sell like hotcakes, and there will be much applauding, and there will be cheering and wonder and encouragement given to the masses. By the way, congrats on the book, and
thank you.
and I'm
Thank you.
excited for you. I always like to throw that out when I see you because I know
Thanks
what a
so
big
much.
deal it is, and I know you're much too humble to go and like
Well,
shill yourself. But I'll show you. You just call me,
thank you.
and I
Thanks
will
so
show
much.
for you.
I'm very excited. I'm kind of I don't know if you felt anxious when each time you put out a
Hell
book.
yeah. It's like
It,
seeing
it's
your
it's
your
weird.
child on stage.
Yeah.
You're like, please tell me they're talented and pretty.
Yeah.
Please don't boo.
Right. Yep. And
So
it's a
yeah,
really, yeah, it's so weird to have something that's been like so hidden and personal. And then you're just like, here you go, everybody. Like,
yeah,
have at it. But
yeah.
I'm very excited. It does come out in 4 weeks. I will take this opportunity to say, because my publishing company will be so happy. Pre-orders are really important. They really help determine the early success of a book when you're going the publishing route that I'm going, because this is what helps like Barnes and Noble decide to put it on the shelf. And the book is called Gospel of Lies. I have it over here.
Nice.
Um, and I just think it would be so cool for somebody to be in the religious section and then they like come across this because that's where it would go. So, and it's going to go next to other books that are similar, except for saying like Gospel of Truth. But then mine's going to be there, Gospel of Lies. And I just want it to get into the hands of people who are willing to question, are curious, and don't want to feel alone in it. So if you are looking to buy the book, put your pre-orders in. There, I think it's at like Target, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, of course, all the places. But I'm just excited, and I hope I really do. I want it to help people. I want it to be a book that makes people feel more empowered to continue their journey of skepticism and of prioritizing true things. So
I do see Dylan is on the switchboard, and we certainly are now populating calls, the
yes.
numbers on the screen. Before I do that, I'm going to shamelessly shill for some big events that are coming up on the Free Thought calendar. A lot of
Yay.
people don't get conferences. Why would atheists want to get together? I left one herd. I'm not going to join another. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't understand the power of community, especially in a culture where people who are non-Christians are so marginalized. You don't get that we are communal creatures. We have evolved to be tribal. It's good to get together to make new friends and to see old ones. We learn stuff. We challenge each other. It's just a ball. And so I'm going to be, along with a bunch of other people, at the We Can Reason event this coming weekend in Calgary. You can go to wecanreason.com. I know Black Non-Believers has an event coming up. I want to say that's in June. I'm on stage with No Illusions in Cincinnati.
I saw that. I was going to ask you about that. I wish I could
Oh
be
my
there.
God. Like he and I have done conferences together, but we've never done a 1-2 tandem show. So I buzzed him and I said, look, you and I are both going to be in the area for the Ark Encounter protest, which is on July 12th. And if you've never done that, so I'll try to make this quick promise, but here's the setup.
No, I want to hear it. This is fun.
Ken Ham, of course, builds this $110 million paperweight, which is supposedly an Ark replica, which is a building, not a boat, that's already decaying in the weather. And he's got it in Williamstown, Kentucky. And he's totally talking out of both sides of his mouth. So when he wants tax advantages, he plays it like it's a religious institution, it's a church. Oh, look, tax-free. But if he wants tourism dollars from the state, then he says the Ark Encounter is a business that brings in dollars from all over the country. I would like a tax advantage there and a grant and something else. He's totally playing both sides of it. I've toured it. I've made a video of it. It's called Atheists at the Ark Encounter. I visited, so you don't have to. And it's just as awful as you would think. Well,
And they didn't kick you out?
I don't think really were on to me.
Okay. You were stealth.
I didn't bring an actual camera in. I shot almost all of it on a phone. Unlike the Creation Museum, I actually brought in a DSLR rig, and for some reason they let me go through. And that one's called Atheists at the Creation Museum. That was about 10, 12 years ago. But
I think I went there back when I was a Christian. And I think even then I remember being like, this is not our best work.
It's awesome. There's dinosaurs everywhere. There's an exhibit that talks about why our sin is the reason weeds grow in the garden. There is an entire section that rationalizes incest to repopulate the earth after Noah landed.
I don't remember that part. That is disturbing.
It's crazy. It's just an assault on the senses. Erica Gutsick Gibbon went through it, and of course, she just dismantled all the pseudo paleontology. Anyway, once a year, the Tri-State Freethinkers in Kentucky do a protest at the entrance of the Ark Encounter. And people get together with funny signs and stand on the highway. And we just essentially like to draw attention to the insanity of Genocide and Incest Park, which has been going on and charging $50 a ticket. And this will be the 10-year anniversary. Noah and I were going to be there Sunday, so I said, let's do a stage event together. So we're both bringing some humanism with a little bit of sarcasm, and that's going to be fun. BajaCon's going to be a Canada event in Sarnia. I know FFRF's got a convention on the horizon. Rocket City Reasons, Huntsville, Alabama. That's in October. And so I've listed and linked everything that I know about.
Nice. NanoCon's in first weekend of August, and I'll actually be there. I'm
Nashville. Thank you.
Coming back to I'm using my passport just for that, guys. So.
No. You're going to come all the way back? I'm so glad. Yeah. I didn't think you'd ever visit us. again.
I'm not trying to. I will give Matt the credit for convincing me to. He was like, "I'm going to be there. You have to go." And I was like, "Oh man,"
Oh,
because
peer
he Matt
pressure.
wrote the foreword to my book. So I like there's a sentimental part of me that like wants to like give him a hug and tell him thank you and like
Yeah.
get him to sign the book for me and stuff. So
No,
it'll be worth it.
people want to see you, and it'll be good to have you
And
back
I
within the
and I want to
borders
see
here.
them too. I just
Oh,
wish that I could like take us all on a little island out of the US to hang out,
yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's in the future.
Anyway, if anybody wants details, info, tickets, links, whatever, I've got them listed on thethinkingatheist.com/events. I can't think of another hub that has all those. I try to update it. I'm just one guy with one website, or two websites, but I'm doing my best. But we'll be out on the road, and Promise is coming to the United States. So hopefully she won't end up in the back of an ice van, and then we have to go and have some sort of a rescue and to throw her in our van and get her back to where home is. Okay. So,
Oh man.
did you want to speak to somebody here? I see
Yeah,
Dylan has been waiting.
we've got a caller. Should I bring him on to
Come
chat with
on, let's
us?
see what sticks.
Well, let's see if I can. Now my computer is being weird. Um, okay, let's see. Hey Dylan, you are live on the line with Seth and Promise. How are you doing today?
How's it going? How's it going?
Good. So, what did you want to call us about today?
About the true God, that I believe there's only one God, and that his name is Jesus.
Okay, great. Can you share with us why you think that Jesus is? Why do you believe in this God? Let's put it that way.
I think he's good. I think that Jesus, that he really was the Son of God, and that God is good.
Sure, but why do you think that God exists?
Well,
Like I think
like,
Mufasa from Lion King is good, but I don't think he exists. But you're telling me you think this God exists. So why do you think this God exists?
well, who created you? God created you.
Why do you believe that to be true?
I believe that for here's like a practical way to like for why I believe this. Like Seth, would you ever like who created you? God created you. So your soul is priceless. Would you ever give that to, let's say, like my sister Aubrey?
Well, you've started with a series of declarations of truth that I simply don't hold to. So I don't believe I was
Well,
divinely created, nor have I seen evidence to support that. I think the question from Promise still stands, does it not? Why do you believe what you believe?
I believe that I was divinely created by Jesus.
Yeah. I get that you believe it. I want to know why. Where did this belief originate?
Here's the practical way. So like who created like Jesus came to save us of our sins, and it's written that the soul that sins will die. So like,
Dylan,
would you ever?
Dylan, I'll end the call so quickly if we don't get on track here because I don't know if you're a troll or not, and we're not
Well,
going to waste time today on that. We're asking
no,
you,
of course not.
why do you believe that this God exists? We're not asking you what you believe about this God. We'll get there. Why do you believe that this
Of
God
course.
exists?
Of course. Why do I believe in Jesus? I believe that Jesus walked and that people followed. I believe that Jesus really was the Son of God. So why do I believe in this God? Um, because because Jesus Christ really did come in the flesh.
How do you know
Prove it.
that?
Uh, how do I know that? Like Jesus saved me of my sins.
Now, I'm going to go back to the in the flesh part. How do you know that Jesus arrived here on planet Earth in the flesh?
Um, Christ, like to deny that Christ walked on earth is to
Hang on,
deny so many historical
hold on.
documents.
How do you know Christ walked on Earth?
Um, there's so many historical documents that show that Christ really did exist.
Okay, Dylan, name 5 books of the Bible. Ready, go.
Genesis, the epistles of Paul, Corinthians, Ephesians,
No.
the Matthew,
Are
Mark,
you
Luke.
already? Okay, great. Now, can you walk me through why you believe any of those are true and not just stories?
Of course. And actually, the most practical way I believe, like, that I can show you I believe this is true is like by your soul. So, like, Seth, would you ever, like, I believe I'm divinely created, that Jesus saved me, saved my soul. Would you ever give your soul to anybody else? Like, would you ever give your soul to me or to Promise?
I don't
Dylan, we don't believe that souls
believe in the
exist, and we
soul.
just yeah,
Yeah.
Seth already told you this.
So then, would you sell me your soul? Like, let's say I'm Satan. Would you sell me your soul to Satan?
Are you
Dylan,
legit, Dylan, or are you just yanking our chain? Because
No,
life
you're
is
not
short.
even
no.
you're either
W-
disrespectful or you're a troll, which makes you also
I do not mean
disrespectful.
to be
So we've got
disrespectful.
like
Uh,
yeah, but we've
no,
told
of
you
course
that we
not.
don't believe a soul exists, and now you're asking if we would sell it.
If you have a hypothetical you're presenting, if I had a soul in the context of what you think a soul is under the Christian tradition, would I put it on eBay to the highest bidder? I would not. No. That answers your question to a satisfactory degree. I would not.
Here's exactly why I believe, and that you believe in Jesus. Like, you won't, like, let's say I'm Satan, you won't sell me your soul. That proves you believe in Jesus. Because who divinely created me and you?
Okay, well, Voldemort
Jesus.
shows up and he says, I want your soul. Except he doesn't sound like that in my mind. And I say, well, in a fantasy or in a myth, if I say no, I'd never sell my soul to Voldemort, that means I believe in Voldemort. You know, the logic doesn't even work. I'm not convinced you're even trying. I'm trying to decide, Promise, what do we do with Dylan? Do we continue this? Or, I mean,
I
I trust you. I'll follow your
I'll
lead.
give him a couple more questions to see in case Dylan is just really, really, really bad at this. I do think Dylan's a troll. I think he's trying to make
No.
Christians look bad on purpose because he has not answered a single one of our questions.
No.
Maybe he doesn't know how questions work. Dylan, do you believe that there's a God? Yes or no?
Uh, he just proved that he believes in a God. And
Dylan,
I also believe I'm
Dylan,
divinely
this is a
created.
yes or no question, and I will hang up on you if you don't answer it with a yes or a no. Do you believe that a God
Yes.
exists?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so you can answer a question. This is already doing better than we've been doing this entire call. Can you please tell us, pretend that we don't know anything about this God, we don't know what a God is. Can you tell us how we would be able to figure out that this God exists?
God is a spirit.
Sorry, that was my bad. I clicked mute on you, so start over again. So how would we be able
Oh,
to tell? How would we be able to tell that this God exists that you believe in?
my invisible God.
I didn't know he was invisible, but can you just tell us how we would be able to know that this God exists?
He's a spirit. If you didn't even have the breath in your lungs that he gave you to sin or to choose to have free will, uh, like Seth said, like he won't sell me his soul, like even to, like, let's say, like, um so, like, this invisible God is seen by his invisible attributes, like how Seth won't sell his soul to Satan.
So, Dylan, do you by chance live directly under any power lines? I'm just double checking before we continue. Dylan?
Uh,
Dylan? Dylan?
no,
No? Okay. All
no.
right. Just double checking. Well, apparently, whatever conversation you're engaged in is with someone other than Promise and me, because every question that we have presented has resulted in an answer to apparently a question that somebody else has asked. It's a weird crossing of the lines. I'm sorry you called the wrong show. I do hope you find the
No, no.
hosts that you are looking for, Dylan, and may the Lord bless you and
To
keep
directly
you
answer,
and make his face
to
to shine
directly
upon
answer
you.
promise, to directly answer promise, why I believe in the Lord, like, his invisible attributes are seen by, for example, how you how you believe in the Lord because you won't sell your soul to Satan.
Dylan, I don't believe that souls exist.
Um, so then, would you sell your soul to me?
I don't believe souls exist.
So yes or no? Like you were asking me yes or no.
I don't
Like,
believe souls exist, and I don't know what it would even begin to be. So I don't know if I would sell my soul or not. I don't know if souls can be sold. I don't think that they exist. I could not even begin to understand what a soul is. I understand that you think you have an idea of that. I don't know what this thing is. So therefore, I have zero opinion on it.
my idea is that your soul is what Jesus saves. So like, if you have zero opinion on it, then why? Like, how
I'm going
about
to
you
let
sell
you
me
go
your
now,
soul?
Dylan, because we have heard enough. And I'm really sad for other Christians that are out here having to listen to this because I think you called in to make them look bad. I hope that they'll call in with something better.
The Lord is
Seth,
good.
you good?
I got nothing. I, I
Hi,
I don't know
Dylan.
what show he thought he called, but
Wild.
I hope he does find the hosts he was looking for. So,
So
wow,
wild.
that was odd.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we do have other shows that you guys can stay tuned for. There's a show directly after this one, actually. And then tonight, there will be the Sunday show after dark. Tomorrow, we have Skeptalk. Tuesdays, we have Chewed Gum. Wednesdays, we have The Hang Up. Thursday, we have the Transatlantic Call-In Show. And we usually have something going on Fridays as well. On Saturday, we have our new show, which is called the Devangelicals, right? Am I
Yeah,
saying that right? Yeah,
evangelicals. Yeah.
which I think is so fun. And then we'll be back to Sunday again. In the
So I was gonna.
meantime, if you're a theist and you want to get your call in, you can call 720-619-2288. We've got another theist we'll talk to in just a minute, but you will get bumped to the front of the list. Sorry, Seth, what were you saying?
No, not at all. I was just amusing myself, which is really the only amusement that I get. I don't amuse others. I just amuse me. But I saw this, and I bought it from my phone. It is. Let's see if you can see it. It is a pop socket
Yes.
with a Ouija board on it. So I don't. And this is. I think a lot of it is just taking power back. So when I was growing up, it was very much the satanic panic. And people were playing albums backward, listening for satanic messages, and certain TV shows and certain things were satanic. And we were just scared of the devil. For people who were divinely protected, we lived in constant terror of Satan. And one of those things that we were most terrified of was, of course, the Ouija board, which you and I now see as cardboard and ink. Jesus Christ, it's made by Hasbro, the game company, right? I mean, that's how dangerous it is. But if I had walked in it, and today, if I was to show up at one of my religious friends' door and I was holding a Ouija board under my arm, and they would not let me in unless I left the board out, and they would probably insist on its destruction, or at least put it in the trunk, so the demon has to take an extra step to get over the borders of the threshold. But of course, now that I've come out of a fundy faith and I've come out of that high control fear culture, and I don't see a monster in every closet and a demon under every rock, and I don't think it's all, a spiritual warfare. Now, the stuff that used to control me, I like to have fun with. That's why Jesus humor is hysterical to me. A lot of the Jesus jokes that I would have considered blasphemous, I will share. I crack up. I think it's because that no longer holds any power or control over me. I did a speech in Kentucky a long time ago, and at the end, as a stunt, I actually prayed to Satan from the stage. And I called out, I said, Satan, if you are real, I offer myself for you to damn my soul and take me to hell as long as it proves you exist so that the others in this room can bear witness and they can be saved. I sacrifice myself to you, Satan. And even among some atheists, the ex-evangelicals in the room, it gave them real discomfort because it was so baked in, this fear of the devil. So time and again, I find myself doing this dumb shit that makes me laugh, but it also says, I am no longer afraid of ink, and in this case, plastic. I have my Ouija board pop socket. So for some reason, I just wanted to share that with the world. If you look for, and you know what? I leave my phone face down on the counter all the time looking for reactions, and no one has said anything yet, but I'm hoping quite soon. So anyway, that's my digression. Thanks for indulging me. Promise this
I
is how
love
my
that.
pea brain works. Okay.
No, I absolutely love that. When I first left the faith, one of the first things I did was go to a metaphysical shop because I was like, I'm allowed to do this now. Like, I don't think I have to be afraid of this stuff. Like, I don't have to be afraid that demons are going to cling to me now when I go home. If I look at some pretty tarot cards or crystals, or, it was like going to a
But
zoo
when
for
you
the
were walking
first
around
time
in
full of.
there, I mean, did you feel a little? I mean, were you still kind of carrying the baggage of that?
I think at that point I really had let it go.
Hmm.
Like, and the spiritual stuff is kind of what I let go of quickest, like the spiritual warfare, the like fear of hell, which I know that's weird. It's usually kind of the last to go for a lot of people, but that was one of the first things to go for me. And so I was just like, oh my God, this is not like, this is just humans making things and finding interests and, you know, projecting their own stuff onto it. And there's some pretty things and cool things. And there's a lot of culture. There's a lot of things that have been around way before Christianity existed. And so I don't know. It was that freedom of not feeling spooked by that kind of stuff. It was it was really nice. It
God,
really
it took
helped
me
me.
a year. It took me, even though logically I knew, I still emotionally would lose sleep at night saying, what if I'm wrong? I don't want to burn in
Mm,
hell. What if I'm wrong? I don't want to burn in hell. And on top of that, to amplify it, I had religious fundies all around me, family members, who were telling me, you don't want to go to hell, do you? Hell is a real place, my father used to say. So they would just bang that drum all the time. And it's weird because your logical brain knows it's man made horseshit. But in your gut, you've been so indoctrinated to think, I don't want to cook
yeah.
forever and ever, that
Yeah.
it took me a long time to get over that. And here's the story that I tell, and I'm just killing a second anyway because we got a couple calls, but bear with me because we're doing 3 hours, promise. So bear with me. So forgive me if you've heard this story before, but I talk about overcoming hell fears like this. So Natalie's grandson was very young, and he would come over on Halloween, and I have a big Halloween decoration. I think, have I told you this story, promise?
It's sounding familiar.
Okay, I don't
Continue.
want to bore anybody.
No, no, no. It's keep
But
going.
I had a 7 foot, like orange eyed, scary looking skeleton. And he had a, motion and his jaw would work. And he had a speaker where he would talk to the people who came by and say Halloweeny things. And Braden was terrified of this thing. And I felt bad about that. So we would always enter the house through the garage so we didn't have to go by it near the front door. And all Halloween season long, he was terrified. He would not go by it. And I felt bad. But I had an idea. So the next year, when he was over, I went to the attic and I got the box with the parts unassembled. And I said, Braden, why don't we put him together this time? I'll just show you a couple of things. You don't have to stick around, but I'm going to put him together. Maybe you could try to help me and I'll show you a couple things. So I pulled the base out and I showed him how that sort of secures. And I showed him how these were metal bars and then the legs are plastic and they go over here. And then I put on the torso and showed him the machine with the volume and the speaker that does the voice and press this button. See, it's just a recording. And we took the skull. I let him hold it. We put it on the neck and we assembled the scary guy and we together put him on the front porch. And he was very satisfied and big smile. And the next time he came over, I think it was like the next weekend, he proudly walked up and he walked right up to the front door area and he said, I'm not afraid of the scary guy anymore. And I thought, what a great analogy for how we deconstruct the things that scare us. Once we understand the mechanisms of hell, that it's a construct, then it
Yeah.
becomes not frightening. Then it becomes
Yeah.
something that to be observed. And that's one of the pieces of advice I give to people who are still struggling is, understand the history. Go learn about the different hell theologies and the different torments and how it's been used to control and scare people into acquiescence and how it's so very human made and the morality of it. And then surround yourself with other people who've gotten through it and past it. And you'll take power from them. They'll encourage you. And I always thought that was an interesting story. So thanks for indulging me if
I
anybody was
love that.
interested in that. So,
No, I think that's really good. Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's what it was for me. Like you peek behind the curtain and you see enough and you're like, well, if all of this doesn't make sense, then why am I going to let this keep making sense when it's not adding up either? So
yeah.
I love the Ouija board pop up on your phone. That's so
You're
great.
welcome. You're welcome.
There is a time in my life where I would have been like, oh, you are like I would have been watching this show and I would have been like, oh, he's not an atheist, he's working for the devil. So
really, you would have been, you would
oh,
have thought I was totally in league with Lucifer.
yeah, because I didn't believe atheists existed. I was one of those who was like, you poor thing, you've been so hurt that you are having to act like you
Like, who
don't believe.
hurt you is
Right.
and that's one of the ways people now dismiss you, right? No one who
Yeah,
ever
all the
truly
time.
knew
It's
the love of
I
Jesus.
hate it so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I also did that. I mean, I didn't do it in that I wouldn't say that to somebody. I just would have thought it.
Yeah.
So that's why I was better than them still. But
All right.
Well,
All right.
should we take another caller?
Yeah, I'm all yours.
I don't know if you've chatted with Adam before. I think he maybe has been banned before, but we're letting him hang out today because I still think he'll do better than Dylan just did. But we'll see. Maybe today is the day that Adam actually has evidence for us. So let's bring on Adam. How are you today? You are live on the Sunday show with Promise and Seth. What you got for us today, Adam?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Dad. Welcome to the show. What's going on?
So, you want evidence?
We want to know why you think that, why should we believe that a God exists?
Doesn't the common sense tells us that if we are supposed to do any action, it should ultimately be God? Because if God doesn't exist, like, what is the possibility that we even have free will or we even can act in any way? Everything is just illusion before the darkness takes us away, and you will never know you existed, and it's sad and horrible and pessimistic, and it's really common sense ultimately that leads us to God.
Well, if I may, there are some serious issues with the idea of common sense because common sense is quite often wrong. But I get the spirit of what you're saying. You're saying that anybody with working senses and a logical brain should be able to intuit that there is a God. That's a declaration. I would like to find out what evidence you have, right? If I have, let's say I have the best incarnation of common sense, so I'm able to assess the world around me, I would be seeing good reasons to then believe in a God. What would those reasons be, Adam?
Yes, okay, I will tell you about how I feel about the evidence.
I don't care about how
I'm
you
from
feel. I would
Croatia.
like to know what the evidence is before you tell me how you feel
Okay.
about the evidence.
Okay, that's what I meant by evidence. So
Fine.
first of all, I'm from Croatia. That is very Catholic land, one of the most Catholic lands in the whole world. During the war, we had a war 30 years ago. You had people who were saying, like, grenades are falling on the city, and we are praying, and we see this saint appearing over the city, and the grenade, he's like releasing some kind of power rays out of his hands, and these grenades are falling to this light, and they are like being beaten off. Like he is protecting the city with his with lights from his hands, like in the movies. And in Croatian part of Bosnia, country next to us, you have this Medjugorje thing. Virgin Mary is
Adam,
appearing.
I have talked to you about this
Yes.
so many times. Can you remember the reasons why I told you this wasn't convincing for me?
You can repeat them.
No, because I've repeated them to you.
I remember some.
I think at least 3 or 4 calls now.
I remember some.
Well, okay, since you don't remember, you just are going to have to take my word for it that it wasn't convincing. So I need a better reason. Why should Seth and I believe that a God exists?
Maybe you should first maybe you should come to Medjugorje and meet all these people.
I appreciate that you're trying to increase tourism. I'm trying to increase tourism over here in Finland. I think that's great. That is not going to convince me that a God exists. I should not have to go to a location, and I shouldn't have to go be a tourist somewhere. Nope, I shouldn't have to go be a tourist somewhere. So I need another reason, Adam. Because Adam, let me ask you this. If Croatia disappeared off the face of the earth, does God still exist? Adam?
Yes.
Did you hear my question?
If Croatia disappears from the face of the earth, does God still exist?
Right. Okay, what's your answer?
I'm not sure. Do I understand the point of the question? Can you?
I don't need you. I don't need you to know the point of the question. I just need you to answer it. Does a God still exist if Croatia doesn't exist?
Yeah, of course he does. Why not?
Great. Okay, how would we find that out?
He would show you the way at one moment, and right now he's showing you the way through me. But because I'm showing the way to Medjugorje.
He's doing a terrible job, Adam. Either you are or he is. Seth, do you believe in a God yet?
I'm not quite convinced. I didn't realize God worked for the Croatia Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Board. I think to myself, if God is everywhere, he knows all things, he sees all things, he is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, he is the omni-God. I would think right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he could manage an encounter in my own zip code. Don't you think, Adam?
In Medjugorje, God will place indestructible sign, especially for atheists.
Now, hang on just a second, Adam. No, hang on. If someone's throwing grenades and intercepting with white hot light coming out of their hands, I think that's a trick that could be done. Could he not replicate that in Oklahoma? I mean, he's God, right? Just walk on water and come on over here and do his thing, or going to show me how that's done?
No, it will happen in Medjugorje. Great indestructible sign for unbelievers. So when that happens, will you even come to see it? I'm interested in at least in that.
I'm not going to Croatia, right? God is supposed to reveal himself to me. You ever heard that saying, God will meet you where you are? Let's take that literally. He would meet Promise and I where we are respectively in different parts of the world, and because he's God, he could do it simultaneously. Don't you think?
There will also be indestructible sign in Garabandal in Spain. That's another place of apparition of Virgin Mary. Because we are in the end times.
Adam, what about people who are unable to travel because they either cannot afford it, or they have some kind of disability that limits them, or they're in jail? How would God prove himself to them?
You mean through that sign? Well, when 100,000 people testify to them that it is happening for real, they will have to think about it all day and night, because it will.
So you got nothing for us today, Adam? Do you have anything for us today, or is this just the same things that you call in every time with?
Well, I can just repeat that you should pray the Rosary of Divine Mercy, because Jesus promised to anyone who's praying that.
I prayed daily for like 20 plus years.
You didn't pray that Rosary.
You have no idea
God is
what
shit.
Rosary.
Yeah. Adam, your God is shit if you have to pray some magic words a very specific way in order for it to appear. And I also know many people, many of my friends that have prayed that. and they have not had anything happen to them.
I think we should allow Adam to go back to Magrathea, and he can
I
do
agree.
his thing. Yeah, that'd be okay.
All right, Adam. Well, thanks for your attempts. We'll chat with you again another time.
Thank you. Thank you for the time, and goodbye.
Bye, Adam.
You think he just gets a thrill? Does he just get off?
Honestly, the story in my head is that he really wants people to visit his country, and he's hoping that enough Christians are watching this that are like, maybe I should go there to see this. And, because at this point, I can't think of any other reason why he keeps referring to the exact same arguments that Matt has explained to him in very many different ways, why they aren't helpful. I've explained in multiple ways, and now you have as well. So
I threw Magrathea in the conversation. Nobody in the chat picked it up. I'm disappointed. I'm going to camp out for a second before we get to the next call.
Please.
So he pulled something that makes me crazy. And it's, you never did this, which is why you're an atheist. You never said that prayer, which is why you're an atheist. You didn't truly believe, or you didn't know the love of Jesus correctly, and that's why you're an atheist. And I'm so tired of these armchair apologists, or some of the more high-profile apologists, telling me about my own journey. It's like they're clairvoyant. They didn't see the angst that I went through whenever my entire worldview was being disrupted. They didn't see the sleepless nights. They didn't know the thoughts in my head. They didn't see the fervent prayers asking God to reveal himself. They didn't see the journey of deconstruction. They didn't see the sincerity of my desire to find out what was true, and yet they are so presumptuous as to say, you didn't say this rosary. You didn't believe this. You didn't know God. You just want to sin. You're just rebellious. You're angry. You. And yet you and I are not going to them and saying, this is why you believe. To me, it just seems so insulting. Makes me kind of crazy. Promise.
No, I think it is very insulting. It's also, I think, insulting to the audience because there are other people listening. So let's just say you and I are also just dishonest and awful, and we're the worst hosts ever, and all their assumptions about us are true. There's an audience. There are other people that you could convince when you call in on this show. That's kind of the cool thing about calling in, is that you're not just talking to us hosts, you're talking to everybody else. But some people just jump straight to being insulting to us and making assumptions about us or questioning us. That's what's so annoying to me, is when they're like, so I'm going to start with this question. Like, there should be zero question you need to ask me to talk to me about why you believe that a God exists. You know?
Yeah. Before we, and by the way, the phone number is up there on the screen. Please call us, especially if you're a theist. We want to hear your position. We'd like to hear an actual position, an argument, some evidence for God, and not just I believe. But, you'll be treated with courtesy and respect unless you do not treat us or the audience with courtesy and respect. If we feel like you're trolling or insulting our intelligence, then you get no quarter. But I want to camp out on something else because my mind is a pinball machine. This idea of Jesus and geography. Now, there is a scripture that talks about Jesus returning again as if from the east. And I always thought that was an interesting argument or an interesting idea. Now, many people do not know this, but in Christian tradition, if you go to a standard everyday cemetery in the United States, you will notice that Christians are buried facing the east. So they're buried in a position where if they were to magically stand up, they would be facing the east. This is done as part of a religious tradition because supposedly when Christ returns, he will arise as, what's the scripture? It's like as it's not lightning, as the sun or the moon or a star. Something in the east is the comparison.
It's always one of those things, though.
Yeah, it's always I think it's a celestial. It's some sort of an elemental. And I remember I was at my grandmother's funeral. She passed away at the age of 90, and they were having the outdoor service, and she's in the open casket outside right before they close it and drop her in the ground, but she's facing the west. Well, I didn't even know anything about this tradition. So I saw my family and they were all chittering. And they were very distressed. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So I went over and whispered, hey, what's everybody so, jacked up about? Grandma's facing west. She's not facing the east. She's supposed to be facing the east. And I was like, you got to be shitting me. So finally, after they did the outdoor service, they spin Grandma 180 degrees so she's facing east, and they drop her in the ground. So apparently she would be ready. And there's so much wrong with this thinking. East in relation to what? Like if you were on a different border, if you were a different part of the country or a different part of the world, then it would not be east. It would be west or north or south. So then you'd be host. And then there's the whole idea that if Jesus returns, all right, the trumpet sounds and he drops down, he's into the sky, there's white light and Yanni music and all that stuff. And he decides he's going to call up the saints. What? He's going to be like, shit, I miss Grandma because I didn't turn my head. No, he's God. He would know everything. And then we have all these other questions, like what about the people who have already disintegrated and they've been incorporated into other things? What about people who were at the bottom of a bomb drop and they were completely decimated? What about somebody whose arm, cadaver arm was donated to an amputee, and so now it belongs to somebody else? Does the arm itself detach and grow little arm legs and go back to the original owner, and then that is reunited with Jesus? There's so much fucked up stuff about the Jesus return story. Anyway, that's how my brain works.
Just wild. And to me, it also, like, those little, like, ritualistic things remind me of things that some of my pagan friends would do. Like, except they would be more realistic about it, in that usually they talk about how it's symbolic and it's just like a way of expressing things. But Christians like to say, like, oh, witchcraft is so evil. I just saw a video on TikTok. I'm adding it to like a video I'm making on YouTube, where this couple is, I guess they're constructing a new house, and they take a Bible and they're burying it under the foundation, like on a certain page, to bless the foundation of their home. I'm like, how is this not witchcraft?
Nice. Well,
like,
Kenneth
how
Copeland,
is this not that kind of thing?
The evangelists used to say that when you buy a property, you're supposed to take a Bible and walk the perimeter, and you claim that. I mean, you probably heard that, right? You claim the land for God, kind of thing. So
we did that growing up. We also would, like, when we moved all the time, we would anoint the doorways with oil. That was a thing.
Nice.
So you'd just be like hanging out and look up and see like an oily smear across the doorway.
I see. Is it Carverest or Carveverest? Gave me the clarification I was looking for. Matthew 24, the lightning comes from the east and flashes in the west.
Nice.
So shall the Son of Man, or the return of the Son of Man shall be. Thank you.
You had it, yeah.
Filling in the blank in my memory there. So look at you and me. We're retreading old ground. We're reminiscing about our religious days together. I think it's a journey many people can relate to. And even those who didn't walk it, I think are interested to find out kind of what in the hell is going on behind closed church doors, because it's wacky sometimes. So
yeah, I think it's important to talk about. And I know a lot of people feel maybe even uncomfortable talking about how they used to be and sharing some of behind the curtain, because I don't know. I think some people feel like it makes it valid in some way. I think it's great to expose. I think it's so important for people to hear how we thought and how we think now, so that they can also hear the bridge of how we got to where we are, because there's so many more people like us that are currently believing what we used to believe, that are fully capable of getting new information and changing their minds like we did. So I hope it helps those people. In the meantime, maybe we're about to be helped and have our minds changed. We've got Mike on the line, if you're ready to chat with Mike.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Hey, Mike,
Hi,
you are
everyone.
live on this. You're live on the Sunday show with Promise and Seth. How are you today?
Good. I'm good. So yeah, I thought about this, and a lot of the stuff that y'all talked about related to me kind of, or, because my family, like when we first moved into our house, they got a pastor and he would like bless the house. He would throw holy water on the house. And so that kind of reminded me of a tradition that my family would do and stuff like that. So, but yeah.
Well, so it says here you're still theist, but you're agnostic theist. So you would say you don't
Yeah.
know if there's a God, but you believe that there is.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to share with us why you believe?
Yes. The first thing I would like to share, well, really kind of two things, is my prayer. So I just felt very sad. I felt depressed, and I prayed. I prayed to God, and I asked him, God, can you help me, please? And I didn't think my prayer was going to be answered. I doubted it. And so I was just walking, and I went to a basketball field to play basketball. And I looked down at the field, and I saw a cross on the ground that says, may God help you. And I really thought, wow, this is an interesting synchronicity. It's like my prayer got answered. And I've just had multiple synchronicities happen. Not all of them are connected to Jesus, but this one just felt very connected. And I know this is more of a personal experience, so I want to get into something more objective, scientific, more evidence-based, so we can do that if you want me to.
Yeah, I would ask why you think that Seth or myself should believe that a God exists.
Okay. So I feel like when we look at the universe, or when we look at humans and stuff, we look at DNA, and it's so complex. It can wrap around the Earth and the Moon like about 100,000 times. But the probability of a human being born is like about 1 in 200 million, something like that. It's astronomically small. And yet we have 8 billion people on this Earth. And I just think for all of that to happen naturally by chance.
I feel like, wait, we've already contradicted ourselves, because if there's only like a 1 in 200 million chance of each person being born, but we have billions of people that have been born, then we've already contradicted that framing.
Oh, wait, that does. Well, I feel like if we multiplied 200 million by 8 billion divided by 200 million, I think that would be 20 or something. I don't know how much it would be. But
I don't think that's even how we would
like,
go about that. But
my bad. I think it's 1 in 400 trillion. I'm sorry, I got the wrong number. I'm sorry.
Even if it's 1 in a billion, that makes even less sense. So I understand that this is a popular talking point.
1 billion.
Right, that makes it even make even less sense, though.
So if 8 people on this Earth were born, okay, that would make sense. 1 in a billion. But
there's billions, and there's been more than 8 billion. Yeah.
Yeah, more than 8 billion. So I just feel like with such a small probability, how can such a large
Mike, I don't think you're understanding me. That's not accurate. What you're presenting is not accurate. That's an arbitrary number. I think you're talking about, there's an argument people make based on sperm and which one goes to the egg and which one ultimately ends up becoming a human. And it's still a pretty arbitrary number, and it doesn't actually have much to do with the chance of you being I think you've taken a talking point that you maybe don't understand that's already not a good talking point. So I'm curious if you have another reason. No, it's okay. I'm just curious if you have another reason for.
I think I have a better one. So my bad. So this would be when we look at a computer. Well, when we look at artwork, for example, we don't have to know who the painter is. We might not even know his name, but we know, okay, well, someone painted this. Someone painted this painting. We see the trees, the flowers in the painting, or a building. We look at a building and we say, oh, there's a building. And so the same thing I would say is, when we look at how complex the universe is, how complex human DNA is, and we look at humans and we're like, well, okay, I guess that gives us a reasonable belief that there's a creator, I think.
Have you ever seen but Mike, have you seen somebody painting before?
I think I have when I was in art class.
Could we go watch someone paint something if we wanted to see how a painting is made?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have really good reason to believe that paintings, I could paint something right now. It wouldn't be good at all. It'd be terrible, actually, but I could paint something and we'd know there was a painter that made that. Have we seen people building houses?
I have personally. I think we have, but I feel like even if
Yeah,
we went in an older neighborhood where we didn't see anyone build houses, I think when we look at it, we can say, well, I reasonably believe that someone built that. I mean, that building
right. We
shouldn't
have
just pop
reason
there
to believe.
randomly.
We have reason to believe, and we can go over all
Yeah.
those reasons. But we have reason to believe. We do not have reason to believe that all of this was created like this by some intelligent designer. In fact, when we start looking at design, I'm really eager to hear Seth's take on this because I've heard some of it and it's really good. The more we look at design, or the more we look at the stuff around us, the less signs we see of design, of intelligent design. It's kind of shitty, actually. Like if I was a god, I would never create us with the need to drink water and eat food, or else we just die. I mean, I definitely wouldn't create us to not be able to drink ocean water, which is like what we have the most of. So already it's not looking good. Seth, what do you think about like when people say, "Oh, well, clearly this is intelligent design"?
Oh, these poor people who've already heard my shtick. Well, I have to start with, I'm not hearing theism. I'm hearing deism. There's probably a designer out there, don't know what it looks like, don't know what his name is, don't know what religion it's attached to, if any, but something created all of this is not a theist position. Now, I'm not trying to back you into a corner. I'm just trying to make an observation that I'm not hearing any true conviction. If there is a designer who has left us at a point where we still have to debate this shit on a YouTube show, I think that designer is totally uninterested in us. And for that practical reason, I don't think we can just as well act as if that God doesn't exist, because that God is not interested in our lives, certainly not interested in clearing up the question, not interested in eliminating suffering. And then if you're going to invoke design, and I've got a whole speech on this called Seth Andrews versus God, who is the better intelligent designer, I go through a list of things that are just shit design. You know, the esophagus and the windpipe next to each other, so 5,000 people choke to death every single year. We've got the appendix that blows up in our body, so people die from the infection unless they have a surgical intervention, degenerating joint shit, eyesight that requires scientifically developed prescription glasses. We talk about a sun that gives us cancer. And across nature, you got heavy bones and flying animals. You got flightless bird with wings. You've got fish that swim around, but they're sightless, but they still have eyes that don't work. You have deaf creatures with ears. We have natural disasters, the tectonic movement of the plates of the earth, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis that killed 250,000 people in a single day, on and on and on, Mike. So, if you're going to say, wow, this is amazing, so we are designed, you're going to have to account for all the things that look like shit design. That's fair, isn't it?
It's fair, yes.
Thank you.
And you brought up great points, actually. I'm thinking about it, and yeah, there are a lot of bad stuff in the world. Yeah.
Here's look, let's talk about DNA. Well, let's talk about the aberrations in our genome that predispose people to get cancer. Who would design that? Who would design it that way? Who would design a world where it might get infected by the devil or sin so that children are born with cancer and die as babies, right? If you're going to say, oh, wow, it's beautiful, we have complex DNA that would wrap around the earth or whatever because of its length and complexity, then we have to say, well, is it well designed? Dr. Abby Hafer, who passed away this last year, her book is still out there and it's still really good. It's called The Not So Intelligent Designer. And she talks about examples like that. There were so many flaws in the way that we are designed or made, things that we could not only have done better, but what we see done better in other species on the planet. whether it's our eyesight or our hearing or our ability to survive the elements or how we deliver offspring, etc. So we're kind of amazing evolutionarily, but we really ain't all that. And we could be dramatically improved. And that's the conversation I would like you to take into the coming days and weeks.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. There are a lot of improvements, and I also feel like, yeah, I mean, like the Christian story is that when Adam and Eve disobeyed, that brought sin into the world, and it corrupted the intelligent design. It corrupted it, and it made it horrible. It made
Okay,
it
hang on.
not so
Hang
great.
on, Mike. Hang on, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm God. I'm the omni-God. I'm omniscient. I know everything. I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen before the creation of space-time, which means I know that creating Lucifer would be a bad idea because Lucifer was going to rebel and be tossed out of heaven. And I knew that they would eat the fruit that I kind of tempted them with. And I knew that the planet would become infected and it would have to be, apparently for some stupid reason, mass drowned to reboot the planet, etc. I knew it was all going to go wrong before I ever started the plan. Why would I implement the plan that I knew was doomed in the first place?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question, and
It
I
is.
think I am struggling with that. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
Mike, do you mind if I?
because well,
no, I'm
go ahead.
good.
Sorry, my
I'm
bad.
good. I'll sit back.
I was just going to ask.
My
So
bad.
you say agnostic theist, which I really appreciate the honesty there. I'm just curious. Like, to me, it seems like a pretty big deal if there's an intelligent designer, and it sounds like maybe you believe in the Christian God. Um, so it seems like that would be a pretty big deal if that is true, and you would want to kind of know. But you're saying you don't know, but you believe it, and I'm curious why you feel comfortable believing something that big without knowing it to be true.
I don't really feel too comfortable. I feel a little bit of comfort, but not too comfortable.
Why do you think you really believe? Like, do you think it really is these personal experiences you've had? Because like, for example, when you were talking about your story of you prayed for comfort and then, or something like that. Sorry if I'm not remembering correctly. And then basically you felt your prayer was answered. But I've had many times where my prayers were not answered at all. And I know of, children that have been in horrific situations crying out to God, and there was nothing. There was no nothing. So if we're going to count that as evidence for God, then we have kind of way more against God when it comes to these things. So is there a chance there's another reason that you believe, and that's why you're assigning these personal experiences to God?
Yeah, it's the first thing would be the combination of my personal experience and my observations, but the second thing would be the Bible, because the Bible talks about God allowing suffering for certain reasons. Like there's Bible verses that list the reasons as to why God allows suffering.
I'm going to tell you there's no good
I'm not too
reason
well
for a
versed in it.
child to be abused. Like there's no good reason for it. We have so much data on the harm that it causes to individual children, to society as a whole. There's just not an excuse. I would hope to think that you would agree that there's no good outcome for a child being abused as far as the
I
abuse
agree.
the abuse itself. Right. So we're
Yeah,
already getting into
yes, I
territory
agree.
here where you're better than the theology of the God you're defending.
I feel like because he gave humans, all of us, free will, that allows us to make bad choices, and which can cause suffering. It also allows other people to make bad choices, and
Can I jump in?
yeah,
Promise.
Please.
I don't want to
yeah,
steamroll
Please.
anybody. Hey, Mike, do you believe in heaven?
uh, yeah, yeah.
is heaven perfect? Is there any pain or suffering in heaven?
Heaven is perfect. No pain and suffering.
No pain and suffering. Okay. So there is pain and suffering on this planet because humans have free will, and it's our choices that resulted in pain and suffering. Is that correct?
Well, not just our. Well, yes, it's correct, but
Okay.
it's
Okay.
not just our choices; it's other people's choices. Our choices
Whatever.
and
Humankind's
other people's
choices.
Sometimes
So if there is no suffering in heaven, would that mean that we have no free will when we go to heaven?
I've wondered that exact same question before. So we would still have. Well, I would really have to think about that. I can't answer it automatically. It would be a question that I would struggle with.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. To be honest. Well, I feel like our sin nature would be gone. I feel like that's why, even if we could make bad choices, we wouldn't, because we wouldn't have that sin nature. That sin nature would be gone.
But if it's possible to make a beautiful place where we have free will but without a sin nature, why not do that the first time around?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it should have already been done.
Yeah.
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 I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. There are some things that I just don't have an answer to.
But then why don't you just stick with, like, why are we believing that this God exists when it's not even making sense to you? It's definitely not making sense to us. Why are you believing that this God exists?
Because I feel like, well, when I say believe, I mean, like, it doesn't, I don't, well, it's a small amount of faith. It's not, like, I'm not 100% sure, but well, I just feel like, it's, even though I might have some doubt, well, I think I have both. I believe and I doubt. So I have, so it's both for me.
But Mike, I care less about the doubts and all. I care more, like, do you have a good reason? And so far, we haven't found a good reason to believe that a God exists. Did you grow up this way?
My parents are Eastern Orthodox, but they weren't really religious. I mean, they don't go to church that often.
Let's put it this way. What would it take for you to stop believing that this God exists?
If I had no evidence, like if I didn't have a single piece of confirmation, experience, or evidence that would give me any reasonable belief in God.
Is there a chance that all of these personal experiences and coincidences you've experienced are not from a God?
I think there is a chance of that.
So then why are we not just saying, who knows what those were? Why are we then going on to say, well, it was a God, even though there's a chance it wasn't?
I'm not 100% sure it was a God, but I think, well, the Bible says we live by faith, not by sight. So I would just say that I have, like, I kind of believe that it's a God. I think there is, like, a percent chance that it could be a God.
What
but
if you read another book? What if you read another book that claims there's another God and you should believe in that God based off of faith, and you should stop believing in the current God that you believe in?
I would apply the same test. I would look for evidence, experiences that would give me a reasonable belief in that God.
So then it's not faith that you're using.
I think, well, I'm using the reasonable belief. That's It's a very small amount.
We haven't gotten to the reasonable part yet.
The size of a mustard seed. Well, I mean, yeah, faith. Just faith. Maybe it's blind. I don't know if it's blind faith or not. Maybe it is.
Okay.
But it's like faith the size of a mustard
is faith?
seed.
What is faith, Mike?
Believing in something that you cannot see based on evidence.
No.
That's not what faith is.
No, if you accepted it based on evidence, it would not be faith, it would be knowledge.
My bad. Well, because what I meant was like, well, not accepted it, but like thought, like think that it could possibly be true. Like,
I don't feel like we're moving the needle with you at all.
Yeah, Mike, I feel frustrated for you at this point because I just hear you saying, no, it's okay. I appreciate that. I do feel you're trying to be honest in this conversation, but I feel like you're just reciting a script and you're just going back over these terms that I know very well, Seth knows very well, faith like a mustard seed and free will and sin nature and all of that. But I'm not actually, like, you're just repeating the claims over and over again, and I'm not hearing a reason. And it makes me sad for you because I feel you have missed out on the mystery and the wonder and the curiosity and the, like, what was that situation I experienced? You've missed out on all of that because you just filled in the blank with, well, therefore it must be a God. Instead of, just being able to sit with, I don't know what that was. I don't know. Maybe I am just wanting there to be something behind this when it really was just a coincidence. Or, maybe actually what made me feel better in that moment, it wasn't that a God heard my prayer. It's that I sat and got still and had a moment of presence with myself. And maybe you missed out on figuring out a new tool to combat anxiety that you experienced because you assigned it to a God instead of to figuring out what you actually experienced in that moment. So I don't know. I would love for you to go back and listen. You don't need to apologize or say my bad or anything. I would go back and listen to the call and maybe write down some of the questions that we asked you, and you go look into them a bit more and see if you can either come up with a better answer, in which case I would love for you to call back, or maybe
I just thought
reach
about
the conclusion.
Question.
Sure,
Quickly.
Go ahead.
So the question you asked, why do I have faith? It's because I think the probability of it being true is higher than the probability of it being a coincidence. That's my answer. How did you determine that? Well, because I feel like for me, it would be easier to believe that it was an act of God rather than a coincidence.
Yeah, I think that's what we're getting. It's a feeling to you. It feels like maybe it was, but you don't actually have reason to. But yeah, I go back, listen to some of this. I hope that you maybe outside of the call, some of the stuff will make more sense to you. But thanks for calling in, Mike.
Yeah, and I feel like I got a better understanding of my faith, and I do feel like it's mostly based on feelings. So I'll think about it. Thank you.
I appreciate your honesty, Mike. Have a great day.
You too.
I feel like I had nearly an exact conversation, probably with him, like this a few months ago. I'm not sure, but I'm getting a flash. Really? It's funny. After a while, you do so much content creation, it's all a blur. And I don't want to be unfair to Mike, but I got total deja vu. I don't know.
And it's no matter what, you have had that conversation before, because I know I've had it a million times before. I've thought that way before. Mike hit all of the talking points: free will, original sin, faith like a mustard seed, a lot of different things. And I don't want to be hard on Mike. I appreciate Mike calling in. I do feel like Mike was the most honest caller we've had so far today, but is just stuck in this I have to, this has to be true, so I have to make it true by just reciting these things. I don't
The
know.
weird
They're
cognitive
just like,
swirling eddy, just going
yeah,
around and around and around.
yes.
I said this in the chat, but I mean, just FYI, I would be interested in speaking to anybody, even an atheist, agnostic, or whatever at this point. And I know some people are chomping at the bit to talk about this recent event at the White House dinner. I don't know. You've been watching the headlines about all of that
I
and the
tried not to.
conspiracy theories that are going
If
on.
if I had like a dime for every time I have woken up in Finland on another in the, I guess it's like early morning for me or been going to sleep or
Yeah,
whatever. Some weird time of day where I can't talk to any of my friends about it during an assassination attempt, I'd have like 30 cents.
it's just crazy. It's just
So
crazy. Well, I had to go. I'd prepared a show for my own channel, and it was queued up. I mean, I just finished it, and I thought I was I was topical. It was right before the dinner, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where an alleged apparent assassination attempt had taken place. And of course, then I see what happened, and my whole freaking show was obsolete. So this morning I wake up and I got to go back into the studio and I add like a 20-minute precursor that talks about it. But there's all these conspiracy theories. Was it a setup? Was it staged? Is it theater? Blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people have been talking about that. I wanted to throw this out as well because I thought you might be interested. There is a new video game that's been in development forever. It is a first-person Jesus simulator. You get to play Jesus. It's called I Am Jesus Christ.
you
Well,
are kidding.
no, it's awesome. It's awesome in the
Is
worst
it
sense of the word.
is it created by Christians
I don't
or
know if the game developers are believers. They are based in Poland. It's a 5-person team that originally conceived of it as a computer animated short movie. And somewhere along the line, the CEO decided, you know what, it might make for a great game. So I think they crowdfunded it for years and years and years. And many of us were thinking, is this a scam? Are they just saying, hey, we're crowdfunding, please donate? And then the game would never come out. They would just have this teaser. Well, the game actually released. And people they begged me, please stream yourself playing you being Jesus. Now, promise, you know what Christian media is like. You and I both know, right? It's the quality is not really there, especially when it
okay,
comes to
don't talk about VeggieTales like that, but
no,
everything else I'll grant you.
but like Pure Flix films.
Oh yeah, it's so
Um,
painful.
And there have been Christian video games, and they're terrifyingly bad. No Illusions and I did a podcast because he's a big gamer, and he talked about Christian video games. So the expectations were low, but I went ahead and downloaded the beta. They're still asking people to report bugs, and this game, I cannot figure it out because it has what you would expect. Everything's in soft focus, and there is an AI voice that is quoting a scripture, and there's a ton of reading of the Bible verses, and there's no gameplay for the longest time. You're stuck listening to this shit. And then all of a sudden, boom, you are there, and you're talking to another character who's kind of that creepy, stone-faced Bible character. Everything looks like you would expect. It looks like almost like a nativity play at a church that you would see in December. But Jesus doesn't know anything. Like Jesus is like, I need to find John the Baptist. I need to go ask a resident of the town. And so Jesus literally has to go from building to building and talk to different people to get clues as to where John the Baptist is so that John can baptize Jesus in the Jordan. And the whole time I'm screaming as I'm streaming, and this is on my channel, I'm screaming at the screen, I'm Jesus. Like, I know everything. Why am I asking where John is? I run into a guy, he's been beaten up by the Romans, his face is all bloody. I don't heal him. Like, I don't just go, be healed, my child. I just go, oh, thanks for the info, and I leave him. And I was thinking about, and this is how my mind works, what a wasted opportunity, because I think if I was to play a Jesus game and I've got godlike powers, there's shit I want to do just to amuse myself, right? How come I'm not doing an exorcism? How come I'm not throwing the demons into pigs and then instead of over the cliff, I could throw them into a school just to kind of see what happens? What if I want to flirt with Mary Magdalene? What if I want to walk on water to some exotic place? You know what I'm saying? What if I want to flex my God muscles out there and just show off? And yet the game gave me no opportunities to do that. I mostly just did commentary for 40 minutes, dissecting the Jesus story, the contradictions, the moral problems, the historical discrepancies as I was gaming. But if anybody's interested, Seth Andrews' God
That's
game or something
amazing.
should pop it up. But anyway, that's what I've
That's
been doing with my week. Promise. I've been
wow.
Jesus. I was Jesus. So
Probably accomplished more than he has in a while
the
just
Lord
by
had worked
doing
in
that.
mysterious ways when I was playing the Lord. Yes, it is true.
uh,
So
Amazing. Well, this next call is kind of on the topic, if you're ready to talk to William. Also, if you guys want to get your calls in, if you're a theist, you will go to the top of the list. The number is 720-619-2288. I will say, if you're a believer, I mean, even if you're a theist of some other religion, at this point, I would be really frustrated if you've been listening to the show because your fellow believers have not done a very good job. We had what is most likely a troll, then we had maybe a tourist agency call in, and then we had Mike, who I wish Mike the best, but they also were not able to offer us anything. So maybe we'll get something else. But William is calling in right now from Texas, so we'll chat with William. Hello, William. You are live on the Sunday show with Promise and Seth.
Hey guys, nice talking to you. Seth, remember when we did your book at the Atheist Christian Book Club a few years ago?
I seem to remember appearing. Was it Christianity Made Me Talk Like an Idiot? And I was on with, I think, an atheist and
no, I think
a
it's your Fox
pastor.
News thing.
I was on with some.
Well, anyway, the point.
Yeah, go ahead.
You
I'm
probably
sorry.
do
Go
so many
ahead.
things. Anyway, the point being, I was an atheist, and it was a couple years ago, and now I'm a theist. So, are you guys going to see Discovery Institute's new movie, The Story of Everything? It appears in theaters April 30th, and it's only going to last a week. So what do you think of the movie? Are you going to go see it?
I've never heard of it. Are you calling in just because you want to advertise the movie, or do we want to have a conversation?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
I mean, if I can jump in,
let me just...
Please.
I'll
go ahead.
stream it. I'm not going to pay for it. My problem is that
I live in Finland, so I'm not going to see it for many reasons.
the Discovery Institute does not have the reputational equity to warrant any sort of genuine interest. They're a creationist propaganda mill masked as a science organization. They're shilling even the intelligent design that Stephen Meyer and Dembski and everybody else are pitching. They're essentially a Trojan horse for biblical Christianity. They are scientists who are selling what they sell at the Discovery Institute and on their books, et cetera, and they're doing so, but you'll find them there. But most interesting to me is you do not find them in peer review because their claims are simply rejected by legitimate scientists all around the world. They are outliers. So if they're putting together a movie that's supposed to explain the story of everything, considering the source and the lack of credibility there, it's hard for me to generate any kind of interest.
Well, my view is that the churches are so dominated by Answers in Genesis. And if you go to any church, they're going to probably be young Earth or 6,000 year guys. So
that's not true.
We give them credit because, go ahead.
That's not true. A lot of churches say that a day was as a million years, or we don't know how old the earth is. It may have been a literal 6-day creation, but we might have been around for billions of years after that. You have progressive Christian denominations that they've made the entire creation story a metaphor, and they hold to evolutionary science. So to say that most Christian churches are literal 6-day creation, 6,000-year-old churches, I don't think is correct.
Okay. Well, anyway, can you give the Discovery Institute credit because they do believe in the periods like the Cambrian and they do believe in millions of years of the consensus of biology, paleontology, and whatever. I mean,
No, they
can you give them
misrepresent
credit
the
for that?
Cambrian explosion because they talk about it as being a rapid fire lightning strike of evolution that could not be explained through natural selection, that could not be explained through the natural processes in the biological world. They say the Cambrian was like that, but the truth is the Cambrian, it was tens and tens and tens of millions of years, as I understand it, at least almost 20 million years. And so,
Yeah, 535 million to 485 was the Cambrian. Yeah.
But whenever the Discovery Institute talks about it, they are selling it as in something supercharged, evolution, and it must have
and
been
geological
divine,
time.
which is a misrepresentation of
Right.
the Cambrian. So they can use the word millions or even billions. What does that have to do with the larger claims that they are making about an intelligent designer, and in their case, a specific deity with a proper name tethered to the Christian religion?
Right. Well, their point is that the phyla just suddenly appear, like the echinoderms, the starfish, the urchins, the brachiopods, the arthropods, chordates, like us. These seem to be fully formed, and their problem is we don't have any Ediacaran precursors. The Dickinsonian and Charnia things, like the Dickinsonian is just a big pad that floats around the ocean or on the ocean floor. The Charnia are
So,
feather-like
okay,
creatures.
William, I got to stop you real
Go ahead.
quick. I was homeschooled. So I am the worst person to talk to about if this is the kind of thing you want to talk about. I'm trying to look and see if Forrest is hosting tonight, because yes, Forrest is hosting tonight. You should absolutely call and talk to Forrest about this, because all I'm going to tell you is that none of that is convincing to me about anything. It's so funny to me when religious people will put out a film like this that they think is potentially going to convince a lot of people that a God exists, and then they charge you for tickets, and then they have like a short-term showing. If I really thought that I had evidence of a God, I would do everything I could to blast it everywhere I could and make it as accessible for everyone as possible. So like, you kind of already lost me on this movie thing. If you want to, and also just like the topic of evolution versus creationism and all of that is so boring to me because number one, like I said, I was homeschooled. Number two, none of that has anything to do with why I'm not a believer. I say this, I stopped believing in a God before I started, quote, believing in evolution. So those things have nothing to do with each other. If you want to have a talk with us about like why you believe in a God, we could have that conversation. Seth, do you want to get into all of this, or do you think this is a better call for Forrest?
What I'm hearing is, and this is very common with apologists, we're hearing impressive sounding or ostensibly impressive sounding multi-syllables. But the idea that something was created or developed, it was fully formed, I know isn't supported by the science. And so we look through the transitions of species, dating all the way back to when we were single-celled organisms in the goo. This idea that, well, even if that was the case, let's say there was a certain creature and it existed in its current form immediately, how in the world would you ever tether that to a specific deity? And knowing that we have already dismantled the myth, and it is a myth, a human-made myth, which is biblical Christianity, well, we can already discount that God was involved in the first place. So, I mean, all of this really is, not only is it not interesting, I think the premise is bad to begin with. If you want to talk biology, if you want to talk evolutionary biology, I think Forrest would be a great opportunity for you when he hosts tonight.
But his book, the movie is taken from his book, The Return of the God Hypothesis, and forget the evolution stuff. His other two things are DNA and the Big Bang.
I don't give a shit.
There being
I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't
William,
care.
do you want to share with us like why you believe that a God exists, or are you just calling to tell us about books and a movie?
Okay, I'll tell you why I converted from atheism to theism. Very simply, I read Luke Barnes' book, Fortunate Universe, And the two things that I found very compelling was the expansion rate of the universe has to be finely tuned. That if it goes too fast, you're not going to get galaxies formed. If you get too much mass or whatever and it goes too slow, it's just going to be a black hole. So right from the get-go, you got to look.
William, I'm begging you to call the show tonight because Aaron Adair is on there and Forrest.
No,
they are
the
two.
We've already discussed it.
Oh, well, then this isn't going to go anywhere because then why did you call?
Well, I mean,
if you know it's not going
very
anywhere,
briefly,
then why? Because
you gotta realize that
I'm in the middle of talking. Forrest understands the claims you're making way better than I do. So I would defer to the information that he's going to have. Forrest would be the one that would be able to turn me to different peer-reviewed studies and all of that. So hearing you talk about this, I don't know what you do for a living, but maybe you are a doctor or something. I have no idea.
But I birded, and it's very simple. There is too many.
William,
the strong nuclear.
Are you just dismissing what I'm saying? This is kind of offensive. No, this is pretty offensive. Like you interrupted me and then just dismiss.
That binds the protons and neutrons.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you. I'm asking you to call them tonight because I think this would be a really interesting conversation. And yet now you're telling me you've already talked to them. I am very sure I would have heard from Forrest if he is now a theist. If your call convinced him, if you had new information about these things that you're bringing up that would prove a God, I am very sure that I would have heard about this. Seth, don't you think we would have heard if anybody on the line had their minds changed by a call and was presented with new information? And I just don't understand why this is the way the conversation is going. If you're saying you knew it would, then why are you calling?
and beyond that, why would a God who cares about me need the Discovery Institute? Why would he need a couple of guys, 5 guys with books and a movie that releases for a limited run that needs my ticket dollars? Why would God not? I mean, what's the line that Matt likes to use? Some people say, well, what would it take to convince you that there is a God? And the answer, a great answer is, well, I don't even need to know what that would be because God would know exactly what it would take to convince me that God existed. One-on-one, face-to-face, without question. So God wouldn't need a movie to begin with, and he certainly wouldn't need someone to, use all these scientific terms in ways that where we can't participate. God has to be able to be clear and explainable, demonstrable to, if you will, the lowest common denominator, the person who is least able to understand in this world of 8 billion people. Instead of relying on these fancy apologetics, I find the whole argument is very problematic.
Yeah, William, I don't know if you want to, we can give you another chance to, explain it to us like we're 5. But I think the main thing here is I'm not interested, which I said earlier, I'm deeply uninterested in any attempts to disprove our current understanding of science, because to me that is irrelevant. I'm more interested in you providing evidence that the specific God you believe in exists, not, well, he must exist because this, and this doesn't make sense to me. I want to know an actual reason. So if you want to try, I'm unmuting you now.
Okay, thank you. I'm a big believer in looking at the other side, trying to see things from their point of view. And that's why I said I think it'd be great for you guys to go to the movie, because first of all, I think it'd be great content.
William, let me explain something to you. I was a Christian for 20 plus years. I was homeschooled using Christian curriculum. I was friends only with other Christians. I traveled all over the world with my family as missionaries, where we were preaching the gospel and going to all kinds of different churches. I have seen the other side like you wouldn't believe. I spend almost every day of my life talking to theists, hearing the other side, and hearing you guys make the exact same arguments over and over and over again. I just wrote a book on it. I don't need to hear more of the other side. I do need to hear a good reason to believe that a God exists.
Okay, here's the reasons. And this isn't me, this is PhD, legitimate PhD astronomers. The strong nuclear force that holds the protons and neutrons and the quarks that make these things up in the nucleus holds these things together. It is at the atomic level. The electromagnetic force, it's 100 times stronger than that. If it was
So
just
what,
the
William?
electromagnetic force, you'd
So
have.
what?
Wait a minute. Well, let me just
Even
finish.
if
I'm very brief.
if you yell at me, I will absolutely end your call. I have told you so many times what we're looking for in this call, and you're just not caring at all. You're being disrespectful for no reason. We've been nice and calm with you. I do not care if you don't understand how the world works. I don't care. I want to know a good reason to believe that this very specific God that you believe in exists.
I don't see these forces of nature happening by random natural causes. Is that good enough?
Thank you. I'd much rather you say it like that. I don't, that's not a good reason to believe that a God exists. You're not understanding something is not, I don't understand how you go from this doesn't make sense to me to therefore God. You cannot rely on that. That's not an argument for the existence of a God. At best, what you have is a really poor argument against science. But what is your argument for the existence of a God? We still haven't got there.
Well, guys, do you want me to use, and I think you need to forbid anybody to use the Kalam cosmological argument, because these people don't know the physics. They've heard William Lane Craig and everybody give
Jesus
these
Christ.
pathetic.
Let's say I am a non-physicist.
Kalam.
I am a non-physicist. Are you telling me that God's method for making himself known is to require me to understand PhD physics?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
what
won't
kind of
understand
a
it unless you know
competent,
the
benevolent deity would say that I will be vague and not understandable unless you can understand PhD physics, because you have just excluded almost all of the 8 billion human inhabitants of this planet and the multitude of people throughout generations in human history.
Exactly. You're catching on. You can't. Most people can't understand it because they don't know the physics, or for that matter,
William, hold on. I need to help you try to save yourself from embarrassment. Do you actually know what Seth just said?
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous that God would just only a few people, like Luke Barnes out of Australia that wrote for can understand why there is evidence for God. Most people cannot understand it because they can't understand the physics. Or for that matter, the biochemistry, like we were talking about.
Here's the problem, William. I'm looking at the chat right now, and they're all saying that they listen to you call in and talk to Dr. Aaron Adair and get absolutely schooled. So why are you calling us now? You're like, well, these guys aren't doctors, so now it'll be okay. We're still not convinced. So you're really bad at this.
But what I'm saying, maybe and I'm not saying the movie's going to convince you. I'm just a big believer in looking at the other side.
William,
and you guys can comment.
I started this whole call. I started the whole call saying, "Is this just you calling in, trying to get people to go see this movie?" I live in Finland. I can't go see the movie, even if I wanted to waste more of my life going to see it. Yeah. This is one of the dumbest arguments I think we've ever gotten on here. I don't know why you don't have another reason to share with us. Like, if you were trying to tell your 10-year-old child why they should believe that a God exists, what would you say to them?
Okay, I'll give you a great reason that the great Fred Hoyle became a believer. It's very confusing. You have the resonance of carbon, the creation of carbon, as you know, in stars. It takes two supernova explosions. But you will have two helium atoms that combine into beryllium. That's just a split second, and then it combines with another helium atom. The creation of carbon is a minor miracle, and this has convinced great physicists.
Why? Why is that a miracle? Why does that mean there's a God? Why doesn't it instead mean that fairies are real They're invisible except for right now because I actually know how to make them visible and only me. And here's the little fairy, and they're the ones that actually do that. That's the miracle. Prove me wrong.
Because this is the great Fred Hoyle, and
William,
the great Richard
William,
Feynman said
the great me
okay,
says
let me
that
give
it's
you a
fairies.
quick one.
Nope, prove that it's not little fairies that are doing that.
I'm going to, if you give me literally, I can explain in 10 seconds. The great Richard Feynman, one of the great physicists of the last century, said the fine structure constant, every physicist should put that on a wall and worry. So my question to you guys,
it's been 10 seconds.
About the
I still think it's fairies.
Constant?
It's, William, it's fairies. I'm giving you the answer right now, and it's fairies.
Okay. Well, I think the fine structure constant and the reputation of the great Richard Feynman is a little bit more of the evidence than fairies, don't you?
It is. Nope. I have the fairy right here in my hand. What do you have to show for yourself?
Science. Evidence.
I actually have it right here in my hand. I have the little fairy that did all of this in my hand right now. And she's telling us that we actually now have to move on to another caller.
If you're too lazy to go and read the Fortunate Universe, that's the least you can do.
We're in the ad hominem
and I can't
level.
help you.
Okay.
All right,
I'm trying
William.
to help you, but you won't
You're
even
right.
let me
You can't
complete
help
a
us.
sentence.
We let you complete so many that you should go read the chat and what they have to say about your sentences. But call tonight. Talk to Aaron and Forrest again, because maybe we're just too stupid.
We may be.
I'm sure that's what it is. Bye, William. Oh my God. Sorry. I lost my patience for that one because that was.
I get it. I don't, there's so much wrong there. The idea that you think about the people who didn't, in our relatively recent human past, who didn't even understand what the stars were. They didn't understand cosmology, and they didn't realize that we revolved around the sun, and they didn't know, anything about the genome and all of these other things. And so the argument with all of these, with the invocations, I don't think Feynman's the one you want to invoke, by the way, but what he's essentially saying is that all the people who existed before this was known, before these discoveries were made by human beings, meant that humans before that were hopeless. They would never have been able to understand the intelligently designed universe that they occupied. Right. The argument itself, to me, makes no sense. And I just don't get why the question of, if I had to make it understandable to a child, how would I explain it? And then he goes off into the weeds with multi-syllables that a 10-year-old would never get. I don't understand his approach.
And calling me lazy after I spent so many tears and hours and days trying to find convincing. I did not want to lose my belief in a God. It was the most important thing to me. I put so much work into it. I've written a book now. I wasn't being lazy when I was doing that. I haven't been lazy when I come on to host this show and engage in these conversations. I love doing it, but trust me, it's 10:48 p.m. my time. If I was lazy, I would love to be going to sleep right now.
My love is relative at this point. It depends on the call. My love has waned over the past couple of minutes. I will say, you know what? You're just lazy. You're just lazy. If you really wanted to find God, maybe you just want to sin. Promise. Yeah.
That is actually what it is.
You want to sin.
That's my thing.
You know what? I'll pray for you. Bless your heart. I will pray for you in the love of the Lord. It's funny how people can say those phrases, and they're really multi-purpose. So like someone can genuinely express empathy if they've been sort of conditioned by their environment, and you're going through something that's, you know what, I'm gonna keep you in my prayers. I'll pray for you. Then is an expression of generosity. But how often is it kind of a fuck you? Like, I'll pray for you. I'm sorry you're so deceived. I'm gonna pray for you. And then they usually say it walking out the door. Oh, I promise. I'm going to pray for you. Bless your heart. Bless your
Yes,
heart.
pray for my laziness. Meanwhile, I'm still putting more effort into this than William is. So, okay, shall we chat with our next
Yeah,
caller?
I'm in.
All right, we've got DB wants to call and tell us that God is not fake. Hey, DB, you're on the Sunday show with Promise and Seth. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Are you on a speakerphone or
on
can I get you a little closer to the mic so we can hear you a little better, DB?
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I getting any better?
This is as close as you can get, my friend.
Yeah, it is. I got my mic right in my mouth almost.
All right, well, it'll work.
Sorry about that. Didn't want to be that guy. Sorry. Yeah, guys. Hi. Yes. Interesting listening to you guys talk and so forth. Do you mind if I ask you a question first, Promise, before I just state my case? I'm intrigued by the fact that you spend many dedication, 20 years of very dedicated, maybe more than a lot of Christians, possibly more than myself, of looking into these things and following through. I wanted to ask, if you don't mind, was there anything that still remains in your mind compelling? Like, I can't imagine you would find the whole thing completely rubbish. There must be, like, is there still just a facet of the Christian religion or theism that still makes you wonder, you're still on the fence?
No.
Possibly, you're just waiting? No way?
No, definitely.
You consider the whole thing just hogwash?
Yeah, I don't believe any gods exist. I have never heard a good reason to believe that one does. I think that the God claims I've heard so far all seem to be made up by people, and I've never been given evidence to believe contrary to that.
Okay, so you find just even your own sort of sense of morality, of the design, doesn't appeal at all to that a God existing or anything, even remotely, or?
Nope, I wouldn't be calling myself an atheist if I was holding out.
No, understood. I don't think you're compromising your convictions or feigning it, but just if there's just a vestige, if you will, of conviction somewhere that maybe just needs to flourish from a more compelling argument or something, not a problem. Thank you for that. It's been sort of natural to me just to believe in the God, and I sort of have to go back and think what was.
Well, let me ask you real quick. Which God is it specifically that you believe in?
A Christian. Sorry, I told that to the.
Okay. You might have said it, and I just didn't catch it. But I just want to make sure I'm knowing where we're going. Okay, continue.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Christian God. So when I was, it was intuitive, instinctive, possibly, that I believed in God. And I had to sort of, when asked the question, I would just have to go back and ask myself why. That, as far as my experience goes, I think there was a design element when I was very young, just sort of looking. I was turning up the window one day for whatever reason. I just sort of dawned on me, just seeing this sort of panorama, trees, birds flying in the air, the sunny sky, the grass, things. It just, I can't articulate what that means, but just, I guess there was apparently a design factor that just couldn't have been haphazard. I can't imagine how many test scenarios would require to get such a conformity of design and so forth. But the moral aspect, I think humans are distinctly and definitively spiritual creatures as opposed to the animal kingdom. Meaning we have that sense of morality, understanding transcendent thoughts and so forth, right and wrong, the spiritual realm. Understanding just what the word God means. Even.
Well, so DB, let's figure out which direction we want to go. What do you think is the more compelling argument for the existence of your God? Intelligent design or morality? And then we can go down the route that you pick.
Agree. Thank you. Morality.
Okay, so you would say that morality proves a God. Is that fair to say?
I do believe so, yes.
Okay, why?
Because I see that it's written. Just bear with me here. It's written that we're given God's image, and to me, the evidence sort of displays that. I don't think the animal kingdom has any sense of morality. I know many have argued that, well, the monkeys over here do this and that, and we've witnessed, equality or something, one defending another, this minute sort of case. I think definitively the animal kingdom, just the fact that they kill just to sustain themselves predominantly, they cannot have that love thy neighbor as yourself mantra, that they cannot be moral beings for reasons as such, just the way they live, the way they're designed. They don't have the capacity. We are clearly have the spiritual nature that has to have a source that couldn't come from the material realm. If we came from, protoplasm.
The problem is, but the problem is we don't all agree on morals. We tend to find objectives to agree on. So like well-being, and then we aim for that. But even amongst Christians, if you ask one what's moral and what isn't, this is clearly a human construct that we've come up with because we're social creatures and we've been able to communicate to the level that we can find agreements to make that make life hopefully better for the most amount of people. But for example, like you brought up, the golden rule, like treat others as you would want to be treated. Is that one of the things? That's what you were talking about, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But I can write a better one. Treat other people how they want to be treated. Because if you treat me the same way that, I use this example, sorry for everybody that's heard it a million times. If you treat me on my birthday how my husband wants to be treated on his birthday, I'm going to have a shitty birthday. And if you treat my husband on his birthday how I want to be treated on my birthday, he's going to have a shitty birthday because we both have very different ideas of what a good birthday is like. So that's already not like from the Bible, like that's already, if that's one of the peaks of moral poems that we can offer, and it's not good. I can write a better one.
That's interesting. The problem is that is interesting. I imagine the golden rule is sort of not contextual, but I understood that not on the specifics. If I'm not going to, if your husband wants a drill for his birthday, and I'm going to buy you a drill, I can appreciate the lack of appreciation. But but if it's being generous to you. I think it would just be a little broader than that. If it's sharing.
Well, here's the problem. My husband doesn't like birthdays. He's Finnish, so he just he just wants to have a great day, and he just wants to have a great day every day. That's a good birthday to him. He doesn't actually. It makes him uncomfortable getting gifts and having people go out of their way to do big shows of anything. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, bring me breakfast in bed, bring me flowers, make a big deal. Tell me all the best things about me, and I want it to be special, and I don't want this every day, every year. So, already there, you're already having to fudge that verse so much to make it work. So it's clearly not a very clear moral foundation for anything. It's not that helpful. It's not even that wise.
Interesting, Tom, because the first time I've heard it sort of deprecated to such a degree. I thought it was sort of a universal, even across religions, one might adhere to this, consider it to be a compelling precept to follow and so forth. Okay, so I think me being a little bit broad about it is sort of because I would sit there and say, okay, then Dan, what would you want somebody to do for you on your birthday? And think to myself, okay, what would Promise want somebody to do for her birthday? I think that's the same sentiment. Just put yourself in her place.
But it's literally not. It's treat that person how they want to be treated instead of treat that person how you would want to be treated. It's very different. And I think that adjustment would have been a lot better. But here's the other problem. If we're going to go to the Bible for morality, sorry, I have to bring up slavery because it's a really, really big problem in the Bible. I also have to bring up the fact that there's all kinds of awful things that are perpetuated by religious people, by the church, that the Bible could have just been like, God could have just seen in advance, oh, this is going to be a problem. Let me be really clear about this. And he wasn't. And now we have denominations arguing over that. We have people being abused because of it, because it's not clear. It's not very clear. And oftentimes it is contradicting itself. So my problem with like we can go down the whole line of like what's immoral about the Bible, but I'm more interested in how did you determine that morality could not have been something that we as humans developed in order to survive?
Because you are talking about the specifics now. Defining what is moral and what is not. I believe that you possibly, for the sake of this argument, a slightly different issue. Just the fact that we have that care and concern, even like again, a lion will just eat an antelope's child without losing any sleep. It doesn't cross its mind. Nobody gets together and says, we can't keep living like this. We should become vegetarians or whatever. It doesn't cross their minds. Just the fact that we even have that notion of that intangible, that what was right, what was wrong.
But DB, our sense of morality has changed and grown over the years. Like I said, the Bible was claiming that it's totally cool to own slaves as long as you do it this way and that way, and it's totally fine to hit women and to stone people and all this stuff. And now we know that's immoral. But at the time, people were doing it, and they were making justifications for it. And then they kept doing it and used the Bible to justify it. So clearly, our morality is something that has changed over time. Age of consent has changed. The more we learn about each other and how our brains work, we have changed so much morally over time. If it was something inherent in us from a God, why was it so shitty? Why has it had to evolve over time?
Again, the specific doctrines or precepts of morality and so forth, they do change and evolve, and man is striving to find out what is conducive to every situation and so forth. It's an impossible task, I imagine. But the notion that just that again, I just think watching dogs and animals, they kill indiscriminately to a large degree. Even if you wander in their territory, they have no benefit of feeding off of you or not. They'll be that manner, and it's they don't have that sense of being repulsed.
DB, is it a chance? Is there a chance that us humans just have had access to more tools to develop this morality, and it's benefited us to do so?
Well, no,
is it possible? Is it possible that there's nothing spiritual, supernatural whatsoever about the morality that we don't even all agree on?
Is it possible? I know I was find that hard to fathom. And what I was going to say is that to say that we, as creatures, if there was no God and we just came from the material realm, started from protoplasm, you wouldn't have that dimension. You wouldn't have that dimension in man's, constitution. That to go off into that abstract thing, and like you said, to the detriment. Why would man be sort of self-annihilating in that way, just to confound himself with these rules and regulations that just have no significance or bearing, or just are subjective or contextual or so forth? In that, why would he do that? I think there's just something in him that is just innate. Like, why would he go there to his own detriment, as you've expressed? Oh, hello?
You've literally short-circuited. Promise. You've short-circuited her. She's literally.
I'm just waiting for the reason why how you determine there's a God behind this, and I'm hearing like really abstract terms like spirituality and realm and all of this stuff, and you keep referring back to animals, which the other problem is we do know of morality in amongst different species. We are animals, so clearly animals can have morals, and I don't know. Seth, do you have something to add? Because I feel like
I'm just sitting back here watching you not be lazy, and it was just refreshing.
Finally.
So, Erica Gutsick-Gibbon does a lot of education about pro-social behaviors that we do see. She specializes in the primate kingdoms, but, we see There are family units. We see animals that operate in groups that show compassion, love. They grieve when there is loss. They will put themselves in danger to save a member of the family or a member of their species or tribe, often to, the result of their own deaths. And you can't exclude animals from killing other species or even itself. The human animal has certainly evolved more of a conscious reasoning when it comes to what we do and how we do it, but we are still animals. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that pro-social behaviors are one of the reasons that species survive and thrive. If you are out alone on the African savanna, you are being antisocial, you are hoarding resources, you are being cold and cruel and torturous and murderous, you are not going to live long. But if you coalesce and you have societies and you engage in pro-social behaviors, you are then stronger, you are more able to procure resources, you are then happier. And these traits begin to code and we evolve into social creatures. And we see this throughout the animal kingdom. And the idea that I would have to have my moral compass dictated to me by some third party, and even the objective moral standard argument, is the first part of a larger conversation about who is the standard giver or standard bearer. Because it almost always, whenever an apologist starts to talk about this, they have a God in mind. That's a whole other conversation. But I think it's terrifying that we would have to be told that harm is bad. We understand innately what harm feels like when it's done to us. As such, we can understand what harm would be like when done to others. And while there are aberrations throughout the animal kingdom, and we do see lower animals with more limited intelligence who are more instinctual and surviving based on killing other species for food, we still kind of do the same thing. And it doesn't prove any deity, any designer, any moral objective standard giver anywhere. I think evolution explains it just fine. Don't you think that's fair, DB?
I don't. It comes. It has its merits to understand.
And I really need you to get close to a mic or to change the mic or phone before you call again. You are really in a hole.
Oh, sorry about that. Is it the volume or just the?
It is that you sound hollow.
It's muffled.
And we've got thousands of listeners who are really interested in being able to hear the caller who calls. And so to do our due diligence, we need to make sure you are hearable and you are clear enough. Do you have another phone?
I'm calling from a headset using what's it called? Bluetooth.
It's time for an upgrade.
Apparently, yeah. Okay. Am I getting any better at all?
I can understand you, but everybody's having to work a little bit. Let's continue. Does evolved pro-social tendencies or traits make sense given what I've just said?
Not to the degree that again.
What part isn't making sense to you?
I think that this is not a matter of evolving. I think right from the beginning of time and history and so forth, man has built, religious edifices, has been a spiritual creature. It wasn't something that sort of developed in time. Every society, every culture, every corner of the planet, every street corner had an altar, a shrine, some sort of worship center that man was clearly displaying these tendencies, which again, as you said, is an aberration, is antithetical to a creature of just trying to survive in this material realm. And what I was getting at,
hang on. Let's say that I concede there is an objective moral standard giver. Who or what do you think that is?
The Christian God, Yahweh.
The Christian God. Now, did I say earlier that it usually drifts from deism, the first cause, the standard bearer, into a specific deity with a proper name? Because that is exactly what has just happened. So fine, if I was, and I don't, but if I was to concede that morality has been set in place, the bar has been set by a deity, How do you know that deity was not another deity?
Yeah, fair enough. I I did not see any revelation, so you're right. I have to read the literature claiming to be divinely inspired and so forth. So yes, there's a chance I'm taking. I'm going to read the Bhagavad
What
Gita,
literature would you read for your
in this,
revelation?
I guess well, you listen to the Quran, you listen to the Bible, you listen to the Bhagavad Gita of the Hinduism, so forth, Buddhist, whatever literature they might have. You decide, I guess, which one conforms more to reality than the other one. That's the only thing that I can appeal to or confess what compelled me to believe.
So let's play a little street epistemology game. I'm sitting at a table as a neutral observer. You are sitting saying that morality is given by Yahweh of the Bible. The Muslim says it is Allah of the Quran. And let's say the Hindu says it's another deity out of the Bhagavad Gita. If I was a neutral observer listening to all three positions for morality being presented, how would I be able to tell which one, if any, were accurate?
The one that conforms to reality the best, the one that makes the most sense and conforms
all right.
to reality.
How would I know it makes sense?
You're right. It's an epistemological issue. If depending on your maturity, depending on your experiences and so forth, it's subjective. That's for sure.
No.
Your own.
I'm not intuiting subjectively. I want to know knowledge. I want to know the fact. Who is the deity who set the moral standard? So there must be some good reason, evidence for me to latch on to one of the deities being presented. So what would the evidence be? Why would I choose one over the other? Who would I believe, DB?
The one I've read the Bible and it made sense to me. I said, yes, I can see God if He is all holy and righteous, and how He played out in history is His dealings with mankind.
Okay, so DB, if it's God, then why did He not condemn slavery? Why instead did He tell us how to own slaves and how to beat them and all of that? Why did He not condemn treating women like property? Why did He not say, like, by the way, I know the Catholic Church is going to be like one of the biggest representatives of me at some point, and they are going to have a systemic issue with abusing children. Don't do that. Why did this all-knowing God, who's supposed to be the moral center, leave a book that's so shitty that it has allowed some of the most immoral behavior that we have ever seen to be justified by it? Well, it wasn't just, it attempted to justify it.
I don't know if slavery is really as endorsed. I know the passages you're referring to, and there were circumstances when they were taking over Canaan.
DB, do you know about slave Bibles? They were actual Bibles that they had these verses highlighted in them. They were given out to enslaved people to convince them to be, quote, good slaves. And they were used to justify the behavior of the other people that were enslaving them. And it was really, really awful. And that's just one little moment in history. We're not even getting into the Crusades and all of that. Did God know that was going to happen one day?
Absolutely knew for sure it was going to happen, yes.
Great. Why did He not want to change His word to maybe make that less likely to happen?
In my opinion, only in my opinion, the limited knowledge that I have, that there's always a little bit of a loophole in general. I promise I have to be very careful how I word this. I may not do it so correctly and so forth. He leaves a little bit of room for doubt, a little bit of room for corruption, just to expose.
DB, He was so clear about so many things, like how to wear certain forms of fabric. But this thing that was going to harm millions and millions of people and create thousands of years of problems, did not care to address, and in fact allowed those that were considered to be after God's own heart to enslave women and children and other people, and then go on to use it later. This is in very recent history that the Bible has been used to justify this. If you were God, would you have maybe wanted to like do something to prevent that from happening?
If I was God, which I'm not, so I'm using my own intelligence.
If you were God,
yes, absolutely. If I was
right,
God,
so you're already more moral than the objective source you're claiming is supposedly moral. This isn't adding up,
no,
DB. It's not making sense.
Well, no, a lot of things you had said is what man has corrupted with God, with the Crusades, the Inquisitions, the
Did God see that coming? And also, you started this by saying that you think that humans just innately have this morality. These were humans doing that. They thought they were justified. They absolutely thought they were justified. The people that have done some of the worst things you've ever heard of believe that they were doing the right thing.
I'm not convinced they actually did not know any better. I'm not convinced of it. I think they just...
Why wasn't their God-given morality kicking in? Why wasn't it working?
No, but sorry.
Why does it work for me and it doesn't work for them?
Right. Well, I mean the awareness of it. I mean both good and bad. We have a spiritual warfare going off in our minds daily. We're fighting things. I just meant that aspect. I didn't mean we're righteous. I just meant the fact that we even contemplate these things.
All right, let me jump in, if I may.
Please.
Would it be all right if I jumped in, Dee?
Yeah, absolutely.
You say that we are sinful and corruption has entered the world. So let me take you to the biblical God and the story out of Numbers 5 regarding the bitter water. This was not something that humans corrupted. It was a process which was put in place by the biblical God, where a woman was suspected of becoming pregnant by a man who was not her husband. And God's method for determining whether or not the woman was a harlot was to have her brought before a tribunal of men. They would take dirt from the ground and they would mix it with some other stuff and they would force her to drink it. And if the fetus was flushed out of her body, she would be exposed as the harlot. She would be condemned. But if the fetus survived, the woman was virtuous. Do you find that that is a moral story and a moral process put in place and written about specifically in the book of Numbers by the biblical God? Explain the morality of that to me.
Right. Thank you. So sorry, I don't recall it being if the woman's impregnated. I think if she committed adultery. Oh, what am I trying to think? No, or maybe it's about her being pregnant.
It is about the fetus. It is about the fetus.
What's moral about
even
that?
If there was no fetus involved? Explain to me the morality, because that's not humans going, I came up with this rule. It's Yahweh's process that humans are carrying out. There is no middle person. It's source-based. Explain that as a moral thing.
If she committed such a sinful act as...
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Say she had it coming.
No. Well, a penalty must be prescribed. A penalty. Now, is this the best solution that it aborts the baby? Is that what you're sort of protesting?
I'm talking about the whole thing. The humiliation of dragging the woman in front of the tribunal, forcing her to drink what is potentially poison, and then the consequence or potential consequence to the fetus growing inside her body. Explain to me the morality of that.
I can't explain half of those prescriptions.
You're goddamn right you can't explain it. You want to know why? Because it's not moral.
I can appreciate your sentiments that way. I get it when they say these things and so forth. Listen, bear with me, Seth. I think God has shown enough mercy and love throughout the scriptures that you have to sort of balance it, harmonize the two, like what's going on.
This is an abuser model, by the way. This is a version of you should see God on his good days because he really can be loving.
Well, this is about, I think the authors who wrote that knew exactly what they were writing, and it wasn't a contradiction or paradox even. It meant something to them in a justified manner. I would imagine, Seth. But listen, I know that's not a response. It's not a response. Does it appear immoral to myself? It appears cruel. Maybe a better solution could have been offered. Even Joseph, to spare Mary privately, was going to end the marriage and so forth. He did the decent thing. Didn't have to expose the woman before that, and whatever formula. I don't know how
This answer is so
Phoebe.
man-centric that it's offensive.
It's really
offensive.
Really bad.
I'm sorry.
DB.
I'm not okay. I'm sorry. That's not my expert. I'm not good with that. You got me there. I don't have.
DB, do you think that it is ever moral to enslave another person?
I can't think of a scenario, but I would eventually say possibly. If they're slaves in war as opposed to
DB, then my morality is better than yours, and I don't have a God. It goes against the person's consent. It goes against their autonomy. It goes against their well-being. These are all like enslaving someone by definition is immoral. Do you?
And the other option, sorry. If they're a prisoner of war and the other option is to kill them, possibly that there's a situation maybe that slavery would be better. I don't know. I choose slavery over death. I mean, for the sake of argument, promise.
Good for you. That's not your DV. You're being dishonest at this point, because the correct answer is no. There is no situation in which slavery, enslaving other human beings, is moral. You know this, and yet you're having to literally worsen your morals in order to defend what you claim the source of them is. And I don't have to do that. I'm a secular humanist. I get to sit here and say, no, that is very immoral. And I don't have to defend any kind of crazy, horrible behavior.
As opposed to a prison of war, promise, isn't that a better solution?
It's a weird argument. You know what? I'd rather be a pet than cattle. Is not a moral
this
position,
is terrible.
Dude.
Yes, it's all wrong. It's all awful.
But isn't that an example from the Bible where there were prisoners of war? Wasn't that from the Bible
let me ask you this. Do you think it's ever moral to commit violence against a person that you have enslaved, which now you are claiming you think that's okay? We can enslave them, that's fine. Do you think it's okay to beat them?
No, I don't. I don't get that part of.
What about a little, as long as they don't die? What about as long as they don't die? Is that okay?
Promise, you've got a great point. That passage has always disturbed me. I don't get it. I don't have an answer.
Because it's immoral. Do you think it was moral then, and that morality has changed over time, or has it always been immoral to do that?
I mean, if I indict God, if I say it was immoral, so I'm sort of caught in a rock and a hard place. And
you're so close.
You're so close to being honest, man.
So close. How about this one? So when God commanded Moses to take his armies and slaughter the town, I think it was Midian. Remind me, it's one of the towns where everybody's slaughtered, and they kidnap the virgins and give them over to the soldiers. Is that moral? Is that a moral teaching from the lips of Yahweh?
I can't see it in my perspective. I cannot see it as being moral.
The answer is no. The answer is no.
I can see it being mitigated, because if they were to die otherwise, I think it's that clemency is offered slightly.
What about the verses where the soldiers can take them and change their clothes and cut their hair and clip their nails and essentially test drive them for 30 days. But after a month, if the soldiers aren't satisfied, then they release the virgin, or what was a virgin, into the wild like she's a stray cat. That's God's rule. Is that moral?
It's a peculiar passage. I didn't.
The answer is no.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
The answer is no. Right DB, this is an easy one. This is an open book test. It's so easy to say, no, it's not moral.
I don't doubt God to that degree at this point in my life. I don't doubt God. I just don't. If it's there, I know He raises things for certain purposes. Seth, I know that's a stretch. He raises things for certain purposes. I don't know.
No.
Seth,
I want you to change that sentence, and then I'm done. I'll let Promise finish up. He raises rape for certain purposes. He raises slavery and slaves for certain purposes. He wants kidnapping of virgins and the slaughter of the virgin's entire family for certain purposes. He allows the soldiers to kidnap and change their appearance and do what they want as property for certain purposes. He allows his soldiers to kill 500,000 people in a single city in one day for certain purposes. You understand how that sounds, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
From your perspective, yes. Yes. God is sovereign. Okay, but no, I get your point, Seth.
This is divine command theory. You are now saying that if God does it, it is moral by default. And Promise and I simply disagree. You want to know why? Because we have an evolved ethical center. We have a moral compass innately outside of God. And it's just fine to challenge what the Bible says God did as immoral if we deem it to be so. You are likely more moral, hopefully, than the God of the Bible. That's kind of where I fall. And that's all I got, Promise. So I'll sit back and watch you be lazy again for the next few minutes, whatever the accusation's going to be. So
right.
You're anything but lazy, Promise. That goes without saying. So
DB, is it possible? DB, is it possible that the Bible could be used to defend enslaving somebody and beating them?
Based on the passage you brought up, absolutely 100%. And history has proven to be so. So there's no argument there from anybody.
Great. So is the Bible a good source for morality?
In the hands of the right person, absolutely. In the hands of the wrong person, it's a double-edged sword.
Then it's a terrible source, because I could write a book that would be perfectly fine in the hands of anybody that was able to read it. And then I'd make an audiobook, so if they couldn't read it, they could still hear it. And it would be more moral than the Bible in the hands of anybody.
If you needed a narrator for that too, you could call me. Like, we'd make it a tandem project. You know,
let's do it.
Awesome. Yeah.
What was that, DB?
Do you believe that you could actually come up with rules and regulations that would satisfy everybody? Never. Never.
No, but I 100% know that I could. DB, that's not what you're shifting the goalposts. We're not talking about what could satisfy people, because the Bible doesn't satisfy people. That's for sure. I'm talking about what's moral or not. I could write a book that has less immorality than the Bible so easily, just by not writing a book at all, first of all, but also just by writing a book that says, hey, treat other people how they want to be treated. That could be the whole book. And it's already more helpful than the entire Bible, because the entire Bible contains horrible things that we pointed out to you over and over and over again. And it's honestly disturbing how much you're trying to defend it, to the point that I'm hearing you create tension with yourself and what I believe to be probably your own morals, and then what your position is requiring you to defend. It's like I can hear you squirming, and it's sad. That's the problem with the Bible, is it takes people, and it takes the worst people and gives them justification to do horrible things, and it takes the best people and causes them to defend these horrible things. It's so fucked up. It's the worst argument to be made for morality.
Right, I understand what you're saying. You're perceiving a conflict within myself as if I'm in denial, or just conveniently adhering to something, indoctrinated, or just stubbornly for the sake of it. Not so much. I still, because it didn't work, that you found anything compelling with it. I couldn't sort of, and the argument that I said that God does some good things, a lot of good things, the majority, the prevalence of things He does are good, and so forth. That I have to sort of use my wits about me to harmonize the other passages. I think they're far and few between to a certain degree. I don't think these are precepts. I think they are circumstantial. You don't read in the law. Yeah, a law with the slavery. And
then it's a terrible source for morality. DB. It's really shitty if we have to go back and do a million rounds of mental gymnastics in order to determine what parts we should take from it. And guess what you're using when you're determining which parts to take from it? You're using your current human senses and understanding and understanding of well-being and autonomy and consent. That's generally what most of us actually are determining our morality from. That's why you're struggling with these things, because you literally have better morals than the source that you're claiming you get your morals from. And you're having to use your subjective morality, like all of us use, to determine this.
Not a million acrobats and leaps and jumps to justify certain things. There's a few that are problematic. There are a few that are.
I hope it's taking you so many leaps and bounds to get to saying possibly maybe some circumstances of slavery are okay.
These are times I'm not familiar with, a history I'm not aware of. I don't know what the norms were for society back then, and I don't mean to make it a cultural thing and so forth, but I think that does come into play, and the laws have changed with the New Testament, the dispensation of grace and so forth.
Did morality change? DB, did God suddenly get better morals between the Old Testament and the New Testament? I thought he's the objective source. I thought he's perfect. I thought he's always the same, yesterday, today, and forever. Why is he changing up so much?
It was a demonstration to show that we needed a savior.
At the cost of other humans being enslaved, being raped, being brutally murdered. Because God didn't want to make it super clear, but he was totally down to make other things clear that aren't that important.
I think God is revealing a lot about ourselves, just ourselves, just seeing how we act in certain conditions and so forth, giving freedom of will, just what we will do, and how we will defy Him, and just be so cruel to each other. I mean, constantly, just even the smallest lies.
If only he said something about that. If only he had the foresight to say, hey, by the way, don't ever use this book as justification to harm other people, to enslave them, to rape them, to treat women like property. Don't ever do that. If only he had the foresight to be able to do that.
Doesn't the New Testament sort of intimate that? Isn't that the whole idea?
No, but DB, even if it did, why wasn't it explicitly said? Why did God decide that it's important to hear laws about how to own slaves and how you can beat them up until the point that they're going to die? That, as long as they don't die, it's okay. Why was he like, yeah, let's keep that in? That's the thing I want people reading thousands of years later. I don't want them to read a sentence that says, absolutely, do not enslave your fellow humans. Do not rape them. Do not, like, why is that not why instead is it clearly painting women as property? Why instead is it giving us rules about how we can enslave each other? And as long as we don't kill each other, but then even then we can kill each other if you're like not circumcised and stuff, because God hates this particular tribe. Like, it is full of awful, awful, awful things. Why did God decide to keep those things and not say in there, hey, don't use these stories as justification to do more of this?
I would think almost it goes without saying, and I guess, and there is the idea of sort of the Bible is meant to separate the sheep from the goats. That let those read it, understand it, let them who have ears understand what I'm saying. It's not everybody's going to get it, and they're going to exploit it to their own advantage. They're going to be. It's a double-edged sword, absolutely. And I think he's not as explicit.
There's no absolutely, DB. You're not making any sense. All you're doing is defending the indefensible over and over and over again. This argument has completely failed when it comes to trying to defend biblical morality, to the point that you've had to even be like, well, yeah, even that verse is kind of weird to me. There is nothing about secular humanism that I have to sit here with you and be like, yeah, well, that thing is, it's kind of caused a lot of death and destruction throughout history, but it is what it is. I don't have to do that with secular humanism. Unless Seth has something he wants to add, I think we're going to move on and see if we can open up the line for one last caller. We've got time for one more caller on here, and I think we've kind of hit a point where it's just getting depressing. So I'm going to let you go.
Thomas, thank you
Thanks.
very much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Stevie. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
What's happening?
What is happening?
What is happening to
What is happening? It's a riff on God has had to operate within the construct of the times to be able to, to properly teach, motivate, instruct, inspire his children. And I think, why would God have to do anything? Why would God not simply evolve the system in the first place? And then when you say, well, wait a minute, the bitter water, the poison story, the forcing the woman to do this or that with whatever consequence, and to hear him say, there might be a better way to determine whether or not she's a harlot. To me, was one of the most misogynistic things.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah, there were so many points. I think we both would have ended the call earlier if it weren't for the fact that we don't have other callers yet. That being said, if you want to get one last call in, 720-619-2288. We'd love to hear, maybe, I don't know, I should maybe not say that. We are hopeful that maybe you have a good reason to believe in the God that you believe in, and you can share it with us, and maybe it will go better than these calls went.
When I was a believer, we did a little bit of, I used to think I knew my Bible, like we do Bible drill. For those who don't know what Bible drill is, this is a real joy for young children, where they pop you into a contest, and they will throw a verse out, and the person who can most quickly find it in the Bible and point to the verse wins the round. And there was an actual game show. It was called the Bible Bowl. And you would go, and there would be kids all in this big sort of round auditorium, and they would go down. It would almost look like Family Feud. You would have a table with a button. And so there were contests. And so, we used to be able to grab the verses. We knew the basics of the Adam and Eve story, Noah's Ark, the Exodus out of Egypt. We knew about Samson and Ruth and Esther and, of course, Christ, etc., and the apostles. But I didn't really know the Bible. Like, I'd read it like a love letter. It was very deferential, like DB. And it was when I got out and I went back and read it where it wasn't a love letter. That's when I really began to see it for what it was. And it's hard for a lot of non-atheists, for a lot of Bible defenders to realize that if you want to find who knows the Bible, demographically, statistically, it has been demonstrated time and time again that if you want to know who is most well-versed and most knowledgeable about the Christian Bible, you talk to atheists or Jewish people, right? In Judaism, they are very Bible literate and atheists. We are the top two. I find it ironic that if you want to find out what Scripture says, you're going to usually ask, and the fact that in the Jewish culture, roughly 50% of people who identify as Jews say they have serious doubts about or don't believe in a God. They are secular or traditional Jews. They enjoy the aesthetic of Judaism. They enjoy the ritual, but they're not really, many of them, not really God believers. Why in the world is it that the people who know the Bible the best believe it the least? I think that's fascinating, really interesting. So
for sure. Well, and I think even, I felt like I knew it pretty well, and technically I did, in that I had read the Bible multiple times through. I mean, that's how I learned how to read and write, was sitting there like copying out verses. But I hadn't. It's like my brain would just shut off at certain points. I would just be like, okay, let's just.
Well, how did you get past like
that?
The woman be silent verses and stuff like that? How'd you process that as a female? I don't get it.
I mean, I think it was just Jesus wasn't like that. Like, we can kind of like hand wave everything with Jesus. And I wasn't willing to look at it holistically. I would just compartmentalize everything. So if a verse was good, I would take it there. If a story was good and it worked there, that was great. if this one was not good, well, then it had to be in the context of history and all the things, you like kind of make this quilt and fill in the gaps with your own things and take out the things that are unfortunate to figure out,
Remember, there were some women in our church culture where they would skip over that. Many of them did embrace the submit to your husband's verse. They were like, well, he's the head, he's the final word. And for some reason, they accepted. Some even said they were comforted by it. I don't want to make the big decisions. I'm going to leave it up to him. Or they would deflect over to husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, meaning that women were honored, which is a common claim by progressive Christians, isn't it? I mean, God is an anti-woman. God is very much pro-woman. He wanted to protect women, which is why he had all these rules for women. It sounds almost Islamic in that culture, in that context, anyway.
Yeah, it's just sad to hear all of this played out. I think that's the thing. I wasn't having these conversations out loud with an atheist, with somebody to kind of like throw it back out at me. So I think, of course, that's what helps. I was hearing some of the arguments and stuff, but I was able to I just get like secondhand embarrassment hearing this played out where I'm just like, oh my God, what I have done. Like, if I were forced into a conversation like this, what would I have done? I have no idea, to be totally honest. I mean, I think I would have been probably too chicken to call in on something. I would have felt like that was arrogant of me because it would have been.
You can probably speak to this even better than I can, right? Because you're first person, you've seen it firsthand. But in my culture, women who were feminists, feminism was anti-Jesus. Like the feminists they almost worshiped themselves, or they placed themselves not just as equals, but we felt like, oh, they're man haters, which is in contradiction to God's dominion of man, or his model for the nuclear family. And I remember we used to talk about those liberal feminist type things, like this was a breaking of God's model. And of course, you're like, well, it's almost like the Bible was written by dudes. It's strange how that kind of worked out.
It's almost like, it matched up where we were at in history at that time, where women were property. And that's how it was. Yeah, it's for me, I started becoming a progressive Christian before I lost my faith altogether. And so I remember reading this book. Somebody will know what I'm talking about. I think it was called Jesus Feminist or something like that. And it was an argument for feminism, like kind of on behalf of Jesus, and this more like the progressive Christian stuff that we often hear. And that's how I was justifying a lot of it. I was like, please let me cherry pick the biggest, beautifulest, most ripe cherry, and let me ignore all this garbage behind it that's like making it clear this is still poison. I was just trying desperately to find what I could to like continue believing the way that I did, and to maintain my sense of morality. I wanted to maintain my values, and I didn't want my faith to contradict it. But I didn't do what I didn't do what DB did, where he's like basically having to make himself less moral. I was just being dishonest on the other side of it, where I was twisting the Bible instead. But I definitely wouldn't have answered with like, maybe possibly there's some cases where this is immoral. I would have instantly been like, no, of course that's absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have known where to take it after that.
I see a theist on the switchboard.
Yes, we were told to, I think that caller is screened.
Yeah.
Yes, let's talk to Cliff. This might be our last call of the night. And if you guys stay tuned after this call, you'll get directed over toward the Calling It Now show. Let's chat with Cliff. Hey, Cliff, you are live on the Sunday show with Promise and Seth. How are you doing?
Hello, Promise and Seth. I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Excellent.
Let's go with great.
Okay,
so Cliff,
let's go with excellent. Go ahead.
We've only got 15 minutes, so apologies ahead of time if we end up having to rush certain parts of the call. If it goes well and we run out of time, you should call back. If it doesn't, then we'll all be grateful that we only have 15 minutes. So, what God do you believe in?
I believe in Jesus Christ as the only God.
Okay. Do you want to share with us your reasons for why you believe?
Sure, I can.
And actually,
I
let me
believe
to like make it a little bit faster. Do you think that I should believe that a God exists, or Seth?
100% so. Yes.
Okay,
100%
great.
so.
Why? So let's ask it this way: why do you think we should believe that a God exists? Like, what reasons should convince us that a God exists?
Well, I think you know why, but I'll just go ahead and tell you because if Jesus Christ is real, then there's a real heaven and there's a real hell.
Well,
And without him
right,
as
but
your personal savior, you will die and go to a devil's hell.
No. I know that whole threat. But what is the reason
Yep.
for why should we believe that that's true?
Why should you believe that's true? Well, number one, I believe because in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and I understand that that is not what you guys believe. You believe in evolution. I understand that. I don't understand
You don't
how
know,
you do.
Cliff, you don't know what we believe, and you don't know what anybody in the audience believes. There could be somebody listening here that doesn't believe in evolution. That has nothing to do with anything. Why should we believe that God exists?
Why should you? Because he created all things.
How do you know that that's true?
Because I guess you could go, and he has said that, but okay, I'll do the watch thing. So that's something you know about. You're going to say that the watch was not made, that there's not proof that somebody made the watch, it just showed up.
You're literally doing the watchmaker fallacy to the point that you even know the title of it. So if you already know it's a fallacy, why are you bringing it up?
Yes. Well, because you guys say it's a fallacy. I'm saying just like Henry Ford. Or is somebody going to tell me that nobody created the car?
I can provide you evidence that it was created by a human. Can you provide me evidence that the universe was created by a God?
Your God specifically.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm going to tell you that the universe was not created by God. It was created by my keychain.
I understand that. And that's the problem. I cannot beyond any reasonable I can beyond a reasonable doubt, but I cannot beyond any doubt prove to you that there is a God in heaven. And I know you guys don't like that, but it is a faith-based. Without faith, it is impossible.
Cliff, it's not that you're already being insulting. It's not that you're saying things like, oh, you guys, I know you guys don't like that. No, if there is a God that exists, I would really like to know that. I would like the evidence. It's just that I cannot help the way my brain is, whether it's because your God designed it this way or whether this is just how I am as a human. My brain cannot believe that something is true if it's not convinced. So that's what we're getting at. We need a reason to believe this.
No, you're
Seth,
right.
you were about to say something.
Okay, you're right. You're right. Because from the heart man believeth unto righteousness, with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. So you're right. If it's not in your heart, you're not going to believe it.
Well, if I was to quote out of the Quran,
you're being.
Then would that be equally as impressive to you?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, if you were us and you're going to just quote out of the Bible to prove the Bible or to demonstrate the truth of the Bible, would that be impressive to us?
No, it's not. You're right. I understand that.
It's not. Yeah.
No,
why would Jesus, God, Yahweh, why would that deity not clear things up? With heaven and hell in the balance, I think you referenced the devil's hell. With heaven and hell in the balance, eternity's on the bubble. Why do you think we are still having so many questions, doubts, arguments? Even the apologists can't agree on the basics of the faith. It's so ambiguous that 2/3 of the planet today worship a different God or none at all. Why do you think an omnipotent, omnibenevolent God hasn't showed up just to clear it up outright?
No, I understand what you're saying, but it's because it is by faith. We have sinned against that holy and righteous God, and He has.
I'm not talking about sin.
His word.
No. Even if I'm flawed, let's say I'm awful. Let's say I'm a terrible person. God could convince me to be better and to follow him and to have my sins washed away by being totally clear that he exists. I am here. I am proven beyond a doubt. This is what my will is. And that I would still have the free choice to decide whether or not to follow that deity, but I would know for sure that Jesus exists. And Jesus could do that because he can do anything. Why do you think Jesus has not?
But he has through his spirit and through his word.
No,
And
I was
here's-
here.
Let me.
I was here.
If he had, then we would be convinced, Cliff. That's
Yeah.
super dishonest.
No, it's not, because no, I'm not trying to be dishonest at all. What I'm going to tell you is, if you'll listen to me for a
Still
second,
happening.
I won't go long. Forrest himself on your channel said that if God showed up personally to him and said, "Hey, this is me," he wouldn't believe it. He would say, "Well, I was probably drunk," and that is the problem.
Or now I've heard Forrest's argument. He would say,
Yeah.
then your God's a monster, and I wouldn't follow him anyway. And that's a different conversation.
Yep, there you go. Oh, but you're
Cliff, you're
asking
talking
me
to
about,
us right now. Do you have evidence for the existence of
Yes.
your God or not? And let me just tell you what you said earlier when you said, oh, your heart just doesn't want it. That is so condescending and arrogant. First of all, that you would claim to know anything about me whatsoever other than the things that I have shared publicly, which what I think or what I desire, anything like that. You couldn't possibly know. And you also said that right after I finished telling you that if a God does exist, I would love to know. I don't know if you've been listening to the show tonight or not, or if you've ever heard me before, but I have shared this many, many times. I spent so much of my life crying out to this God, pleading, begging to maintain my belief. I did not want to stop believing. So what you just said proves my point further. My heart wanted it so badly, and still not convinced. It's the arrogance that you're coming into this conversation with is making it go downhill really quick, but we only have 9 more minutes. So I don't know if you want to offer actual evidence or if you just want to talk about, me and Seth.
Or faith. Yeah.
Right, or faith, which is even less interesting.
faith. So, okay, well, we can end the conversation. Been good. I will let you guys
If
go.
you
and
don't
maybe you can
have
another call.
evidence, and if your only evidence is just being condescending and then just saying faith, which is just a word for believe it, even though you don't have a good reason.
Well, Faith, I do not believe I was trying to be condescending to you. Or
I
anybody.
don't think you were trying. It
telling you.
still happened.
Okay, and if you want to take it that way, you can take it that way. But I'm telling you what the gospel says. Without
Let me
faith,
ask
it's
you this.
impossible
I'm
to
just
please
curious.
God.
Let me ask you this,
Go
John.
ahead.
I am curious. You've mentioned the devil's hell. You believe in fire and torment? Depart from me, you who are cursed, into a lake of everlasting fire.
Amen. Yes, I do. 100%.
Why would you say
Why you
amen
think I'm talking to you?
if we're talking about a torture chamber? I mean, do you think that I, as an atheist, when I die, will be cooked alive, regenerated perhaps over and over and over and over again for not even the end of time, because there would be no end of time? Do you think that's going to happen to me? And why would you say amen to that? Let it be.
Yes. Why do you think I'm calling you? Because I do care.
Do
I'm
you
not calling
enjoy
you 'cause
the
I'm trying
idea?
to-
Why say
No.
amen?
Well, yeah. If you're going to reject God, yes, that's what you will end up having to face.
Cliff, we don't believe that there's a God to reject. You're being so dishonest throughout this, and then you're saying amen at the idea of Seth or me burning forever in hell. And then you're trying to say, if you're going to take it as I'm being condescending. This is getting comical at this point.
If you have a child and your child does the worst stuff, I don't care what, if your child is flawed and disobedient and a disappointment, is there any scenario where you would douse your child in gasoline, light a match, and set him on fire?
Nope.
You would not do that because it would be a horrific thing to do. Correct?
You're correct. You're correct.
I am correct.
Yes, 100% so.
And it is then a horrific thing to do for any father to do to any child, including the Heavenly Father. Correct?
But he doesn't do it to his children.
Who created hell?
His salvation.
Who created hell?
God created hell for the devil and
Thank
his
you.
angels.
Thank you. Okay. And who separates the sheep from the goats and hand places the condemned children, the children that he himself condemns? Who sends them to hell? Who put the scenario in place? Who set the rules in motion?
He did. And he said not to eat from the tree of the garden.
Okay. So, Father sets his children on fire.
They weren't his children.
Cliff,
I'm not a child of God.
Do you think that God created me?
He allowed you to be created. Yes, 100% so.
Did he create me or not?
Yes.
Okay. Did God know before I was created if I was going to end up in heaven or in hell?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so if I end up in hell, then that means God decided to create me damned to hell before I even existed. That is disgusting. And that you would worship and defend and amen that God is disgusting.
No, that is not what that means. That's the way you want to take it. That's not what that means. God
Cliff.
sent his son to pay the price
Cliff.
for your sin and for mine.
Cliff,
that if we
I
would
go to
accept
hell,
that,
Cliff, is there a chance that I'm going to hell? Yes or no?
100% so.
Great.
Yes.
If I end up in hell, did God know before he created me that that's what would happen to me?
Yes.
Cool, thanks. You are proving my point 2 times in a row now. God created me damned for hell.
No, he did not.
Did God have the option to not create? Did God have the option to not create me and to create a different being that would be heaven bound instead? Could God have done that?
Or just skip it altogether?
And he did not create us just. Boy, that's a rough one.
Why would God create a person that he foreknew would go to hell?
He did not create you with the desire for you to go to hell. He created you with the desire for you to be saved. But you are correct. He knows what option you are going to choose. That is correct.
And chooses to create us anyways, Cliff, and chooses to create us anyways when he could instead just decide not to create us. And then there's one less person burning in suffering in hell for all of eternity. And instead God says, nah, I want to create that person anyways, knowing that that's ultimately what they're going to choose.
And as we're up against the clock, I'll say this to you, Cliff. If I knew that someone had destined for you a potential punishment of torture by fire, there is no way I, the atheist, would ever say amen. There's no way I would find it just, that I would take satisfaction, that I would want it, that I would excuse it. Because I have, I think, more of a high opinion of you as a human being than perhaps even you do.
Understood. Okay.
Thanks, Cliff.
Thanks, Cliff.
I will let you guys go do your thing, man. Good day. Bye.
Have a good day, the 2 people that I think might be damned to suffer in hell for all of eternity.
Amen to that. Amen to that. 100%. 100%. And the whole time I'm like, I've had people tell me, I remember, I had someone in my family say that you will be ashes under the feet of the believers. And there was almost a glee in the declaration. It's a riff on, it's a riff on, you'll just see when you're dead, which is really a convenient sort of non-apologetic. But the idea that somebody says, you know what, I'll be laughing in heaven when you're screaming in hell. Well, that's an example of there's no hate quite like Christian love, at least in that instance. And I heard a riff on that. Amen to that. You'll have it coming. You'll deserve it. Pretty terrifying. So.
Really wild. Well, I can't say that any of these calls convinced me that a God exists, but they did convince me that we still have work to do, that it's still important that we have these conversations so people can hear the amount of short. We even had several of the callers go, well, wait, that's a tough, like audibly having their brains explode.
And we had
Really
someone
wild.
say, well, maybe God has a good reason to make women drink poison and flush the fetus out of their womb, which is slightly terrifying. And slavery. How many times did you bring up
Right.
slavery? And you and I are literally like, you're this close. You are this close. So anyway, yeah, it's been an education. Been an education. But it's
So
always a
wild.
pleasure to co-host with you, Promise. And it's really
Same.
the only
This is
chance we
great.
get a chance to hang out. Except, which
No.
conference are you going to? You're going to NanoCon?
NanoCon.
Yeah,
I don't know
okay.
if you'll be there.
Well, I won't be in Nashville, so I'll miss you there.
Okay.
But safe travels, and it'll be good to have you back. I'm sure when you're going to get hugged to death while you're here.
I'm looking forward to it. You guys stay tuned. They're going to direct you over to the other show now. But thanks so much, Seth. This was the lovely part of the evening was you and all of our crew and all of you guys in the chat. Thanks to our mods, our screeners. Lux, you're the best. Jess, thanks so much. You guys next time.
All right. Have a good night. It's been fun.
Oh, and check out patreon.com/theline. It's really cool.